everybody, and welcome to RacerTV.com. It's October in St. Clairsville, Ohio. That means cool temperatures, fall foliage, and hot racing at the ITP Powerline Park GNCC. With both championships already decided, the racing heats up as each rider wants to step up and prove their dominance to be the next possible champion. Both classes hot and heavily contested. Riders wanting to finish on a strong note. Going to be a great day of racing here at the ITP Powerline Park GNCC.
Thank you very much, Megawatt, as we are now down on the starting line here at this ITP Powerline Park GNCC, and we ready ourselves for the start of the penultimate round of GNCC racing. This next to the last race of the season. A lot of things are on the line. Some folks are looking for new rides for the 2016 championship season, while others are looking to make their mark still here in 2015. And the XC1 Pro class, 12 of the world's premier off-road racing pilots have converged here to the great state of Ohio, the heart of it all, for this ITP Powerline Park GNCC. As we turn our attention to turn number one, where our starting riders are now awaiting their trip to the front row and to pick their positions on this starting line. They do it in accordance to points. And with the absence of our newly crowned GNCC champion, Caleb Russell, rolling to the line first today, fresh off his first win in 2015. He's riding aboard the number 989 on the Rocky Mountain Amsoil KR4, back to Husqvarna from Williamstown, West Virginia, Bad Thad Duval. Rolling to the line next today, he is third in points, rolling into this 12th round. From Belton, South Carolina, on an Infab and Pro Yamaha, Grant Baylor. Rolling to the line next today, he is fourth in points, with one win to his credit in 2015. From Crown Point, Indiana, on a JCR Honda, Chris Bach. Rolling to the line next today, he is fifth in points with a win himself in 2015. Hailing from Australia, riding aboard the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna, it's the freight train, Josh Strang. Rolling to the line next, aboard the number 264. Recently capturing something an American has never done before, the ISDE overall win. From Ekron, Kentucky, on an Air Group Rockstar Husqvarna, Ryan Sipes. Rolling to the line next today, he rides aboard the number 3, seventh in points, from Cookeville, Tennessee, on an Infab and Pro Yamaha, Jordan Ashburn. Rolling to the line today, 8th in points. He rides, or actually 9th in points today. He rides aboard the number 514. He hails from Belton, South Carolina, on a Mototech KTM, Stu Baylor. Rolling to the line next, one of Ohio's finest products. He hails from Logan, Ohio, on a factory-backed Beta, the number 121 of Corey B., Corey Buttrick. Rolling to the line next today, he rides aboard the number 25, hailing from Morrison, Illinois, on a Fun Mart Cycle Fly Ride PG.com Pack KTM, Adam Benor. Rolling to the line next, he rides aboard the number 901 from Inglewood, Ohio, on an Air Group Moose Racing Kenda Husqvarna, Nick Farringer. Riding aboard the number 20 and rolling to the line next, hailing from Cincinnati, Ohio, on an Obermeyer Suzuki, backed by Fly Racing and Maxxis Tires, Chris Douglas. And last, and certainly not least, making his way to the starting line today in one of his final rounds of American racing, the former Japanese cross-country champion, calling now, of course, home at least for the next few weeks out of North Carolina, hailing from Japan on an HR Motorsports Motivations Racing Great Western Motorsports backed Honda, Takeshi Koikeda. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this ITP Powerline Park GNCC. And the machines begin to warm back up for the final moments before the start of the 3 hours of racing that these riders are all going to face here today in beautiful Eastern Ohio. The weatherman has dropped the temperatures today, so it's another cool and crisp day. A light wind blows and the clouds are in and out. So whether or not the sun is shining depends on whether or not the temperatures are comfortable out here, but things are about to heat up on this 12.5-mile race course that the GNCC crew has laid out before us here today in Ohio. 14 years as we get set to roll into the 15th running of this illustrious event here in Ohio. The hearts are pounding. You can feel the adrenaline rolling off of the starting line today as over 200 riders have made their way onto the start line for this afternoon. We had well over 400 this morning and nearly 150 youth competitors making their way onto this race course bright and early this morning at 8 o'clock under a very crisp and cold and frosty morning. As the frost was hard, it was deep, and I'll tell you folks, the temperatures were cold, but the kids rose to the occasion and they came out and put on a great show, and they got the day off and rolling the right way. And here we are ready to wrap it up, at least this round 12. And folks are excited to see what this race here in Ohio is going to bring to us today. With the absence of Caleb Russell, everyone on the starting line feels they have the capabilities of taking a win. We have seen at least 3 different winners so far here in 2015. Will we see number 4 here today as the blue flags are out? Shut them down, guys. Shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. As we are now less than 30 seconds away from going GNCC racing. And I got to ask you, Ohio race fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Come on, Ohio, it's the heart of it all. Let's hear this one more time. I'm going to ask you, are you ready to go? Powerline Park GNCC Racing! 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling at the ITP Powerline Park GNCC. $250 up for grabs as these riders make their way in the all balls hot cams hole shot. It's the number 3 of Jordan Ashburn grabbing the early lead in this one. He picks himself up $250 from our friends at all balls. And next we get set to roll with row number 2, the XC2 Pro Lights class, another $100 all balls hot cams hole shot award ready to roll out here. And we got Nick Davis, Jason Thomas, Jesse Graham, Sam Davis, Mike McGinnis, Trevor Bollinger, Austin Lee, Ricky Russell, Scott Grills, Philip Cheney, Michael Wachowski, Ryan Lojak, Ryder Lafferty, Levi Keller, Alex Benhart, Benjamin Kelly, Tegan Temple, and Colin May in 10 seconds. And they're off. Nick Davis, the number 15 Rocky Mountain ATV MCKR4 ride. A good jump, but it's going to be the 301 of Ryan Lojak out of Tarentum, Pennsylvania, grabbing the extra $100. He drops to 4th, and our early leader is Nick Davis. 4-stroke A lights class coming up next. We're talking about Brady Myers, Braxton McGee, Josh Lee, Chris McManus, Dawson Dunning, Hunter Shelton, Tyler Brandon, Paul Petrin, Tristan Landrum, Logan Papool, Jake Froman, and Luke Leonard ready to roll in 10 seconds. Green flag waves. 862, Jake Froman from Linville, Indiana. Obermeyer, Suzuki rider, gets a great jump off the line. Can he hold it down? And he will. He'll get credit for the early lead here in the Open A class. Coming up behind him right now, Zach Case, Luke Parsons, Nathan Thornhill, Nathan Sicklow, Jesse Kildo, Corey Neely, Daniel Fortner, Terrell Cunningham, Ben Parsons, Zach Tussle, Seth Eberhardt, Spencer Hoyt, Sam Forrester, Jerry Taylor, Dual Murphy, Luke Ross, Grant Marriott, Jordan Chu, Tyler Soriano. 10 seconds. Dylan Rash, Zach Dodson, Lorenzo Sylvia, along with Brandon Hayes, Cody Jeffers, Thomas Vigilante, Tommy Henderson, and Andrew Boggs off and rolling. 3:55. Let's see if we can get a name on that. Whoa, how about it for the number 30, stealing away, Zach Hayes, Browns RBPG, Bart Hayes, and Kenda back right. He takes over the early lead, and he's going into checkout mode already, folks. It is your Senior A 40-plus class coming up next with Shotgun, Sean Remington, Harry Englehart, Frank Tussle, Brett Turchilla, David Van Kuren, Billy Schlag, and Edgar Davis. Senior A 40-plus in 10 seconds. And they're off. The 47, a shotgun shot. Oh no, it gets stolen away in the early lead. He cuts to the inside. Let's see what happens into the second turn. And Remington's going to grab that early lead. Oh no, the KTM rider gets him. I don't know if that was Englehart or not, but here we go to the Med A 30-plus class now. We got Joe Marsh. We got Joe Kessler, James Steiner, that's Big Jim Steiner, Albert DeMott, also Eddie Lojak Jr., Steve Jones, Nathan Allering, Mark McGrath, Jesse Arsenal, Kirk Allen, and Fabian Berrada. 10 seconds. That A 30-plus class off and rolling now. That almost looks like an old Corey Buttrick bike is taking off the line there, but it's the 458 grabbing the early lead here. As we go to the 200A class next, Zachary Ferentz, John Hugel Jr., Cole Matson, Clint Masters. Welcome back Ryan Eccles and also Logan Kiddick, the 200A class. Ready to roll less than 30 seconds as Ricky has given these riders the all quiet, all shut down sign, and he says, 10 seconds. Green flag waves on this one as we hear the other classes making their way through these hills here in Ohio. Getting this one sorted out, it's going to be 4:23. Logan Kiddick from Farmington, Minnesota, grabbing the early lead on his KTM, the 16-year-old pilot. As we go to the 258 class, Vincent Smith, Mason Atherton, Chris Venditti, Ryan Slopko, along with Russell Smith, Vance Francis, Eric Douglas, Mark Koretzko, Sean Binhart, Mason Pratt, JoJo Bowden, Connor Karkowski, Hunter Neuwirth, Barack Mooneyham, Thorne Devlin, Brandon Gearing, and Braden Moore. 10 seconds. .258 class off and rolling at the swipe of the green flag, the flying of the green flag. Sean Binhart from Smithfield, Virginia. Triangle Cycles backed ride. Bellray and Jimmy Weinert sponsor, grabbing the early lead, nearly going down in that second turn, but he regains composure, and we turn our attention now to the Junior AB 25-plus class, where Joe McCarty is with us, Jordan Overfield, Adam Bunting, along with Adam Clark, Eric Breitmeyer, and Aaron Coxon, the Junior AB 25-plus class, ready to roll next on Ricky Towery's cue as he readies these riders and lets them know it's time in 10 seconds. And they're off. 263 is Jordan Overfield out of Morgantown, West Virginia. But it's going to be the 426, but actually 44 on his helmet. That's Mount Clair, West Virginia's Joseph McCarty on an MCI Racing RG Honda backed by Outlaw Motorsports. We go next to the 200B class. Cameron Sisk, Theo Lepley, Adam Parker, RJ Mergel, Randy Smith, Caleb Williams, and Colton Cupp, all ready to roll next in 10 seconds. 540 of Caleb Williams gets a good jump, but we got a couple of one guy just ahead of him now, and that is the 869 of Colton Cup out of Morgantown, West Virginia. Those guys are nearly neighbors. Vet B 30-plus class coming up next. Larry Hopper, Sean Morris, Jason Wilson, Gary Basang, Jason Mead, Jeremy Wajenswans, Dan Nyanko, Jerry Costello, Travis Forley, Jeremy Dexter, Josh Nickel, Wesley Lance, and Scott Dowland. 10 seconds. And your Vet B 30-plus class rolling into that first turn. And heading into the second turn. That may have been Jeremy Walkenschwantz out of Louisville, Ohio. You have to be the guy with the hardest name to pronounce of the day. Moving up next to the Open B class, Zach Pari, Jared Schmidt, Trenton Madison, Roman Phipps, also it looks like Joe Saritsky, Bill Zavendi, Damian Matson, Zachary Blackford, Corey Virgin, Josh Layton, Cole Shiflitz, Jeremy McAmer. We got David Johnson, Josh Atkins, Jared Sabo, Luke Upa, along with Ryan McManus, Tyler Lee, and Chris Bartone, Andrew Wilson, James Harshberger, Michael Hall, Eric Souders, Kyle Statler. 10 seconds. George Schnell, Dustin Stanley, Jay Downhour, and Jonathan Harker. And they're off. Oh, Jay Downhour from JD Performance. See if he gets a good jump off the line here. Let's see what's going on. It is, I don't know, that might have been 290. Bill Zavendi out of Cabot, Pennsylvania. Couldn't quite catch the number on the helmet tag there. But that's going to be a good battle, it looks like. These guys all coming to race today. The Senior B 40-plus class coming up next with Devin Ferguson, Leonard Martino, Gene Swidwell, Steve Leggett, Mark Proper, Mark Adkins, Thomas Kunik, Michael Beckett, Leon Whitaver, Will Gribben, Carl Kumston, and Mike Kochman. We're ready to roll in this Senior B 40-plus class. A little bit of second turn maintenance underway right now. Fred Andrews out helping Big John right now. Appreciate that, Fred. He's a man that wears many hats. He's a co-commentator on RacerTV as well as a mentor to that team. 10 seconds. And they're off. Senior B 40-plus class. Fred Andrews from the KR4 Arrive and Ride and program backed by FAR, which is Fred Andrews Racing, of course. And here comes, a 401 machine. Mark Proper out of Guys Mills, Pennsylvania. It looked like he might have the early lead on that one. Let's see if the Husky hangs on to it. Believe he will as we go next to the 4-stroke B lights class. Corbin Patton, along with Adam Hollenkamp, Bolton Birod, Brendan Poling, Adam Lewis, Michael Tetlow, Josh Farrell, Drew Bolton, Austin Evans, Alex Ankrum, and Logan Henderson. 10 seconds. Green flag waves again, friends, and we're back to another start here. It's the 7-11. Come down into the first turn from St. Albans, West Virginia. AOMC Fly Racing, Dunlop's back. Austin Evans grabbing the early lead in this one. That's your 4-stroke B lights class, 250B class. Coming up next with Mike Miller, Will Hart, Judd Lott, Joe Worry, Brandon Leggett, Gregory Coffey, Brian Klementowski, Connor Keegan, Coleman Brinson, Justin Murphy, Alan Hamilton, Coop Beckert, also Brewy Cawley, Thad Workman, Josh Staggs, and Brandon Light. 10 seconds. And they're off. The green flag waves, and the final green flag of the Powerline Park GNCC as we see the 458 of Coleman Brinson out of Aiken, South Carolina. jockeying for that early lead, the 225. And Mike Miller, I think he just stolen away. And Miller out of Fairmont, West Virginia, Expert Exhaust. Maxis and Scott Backed Rider is now taken to the woods with the lead. And that, my friends, your start here from the Powerline Park GNCC. And GNCC Live continues right after this.
Any engine, any season, at home, at the track, or on the trail. AMSOIL for any engine.
I'm a sore loser.
I'm a sore loser. Losing is not an option for me.
Be the best.
The best? The best. You have to have the best equipment under the hood. That's why I only use
Cometic products in my engines.
Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket.
Cometic gasket, a superior quality gasket
For those of us who demand the highest level of performance.
This RacerTV live broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. By Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. By Maxis Tires, find your flow. And powered by Yamaha Generators.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to RacerTV.com's coverage of the 2015 Powerline Park ITP GNCC. I'm Megawatt Matt Watson. I'm joined here by our co-host and expert analyst, Johnny GNCC Gallagher, and of course, our host, Rodney Tomlin. Johnny, man, a lot of stories to talk about here today, and number one being the temperatures.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've had a cold front blow in here the last couple days, and all throughout Ohio and even down here in southern Ohio. So to put it mildly, it's a little bit chilly out there. It was obviously really cold this morning, down into the low 30s, nearing freezing temperatures. It's warmed up here. The sun is out, and as we can see, even down at our famed Powerline mud hole here, you know, the temperatures are starting to rise a little bit. The wind is still pretty gnarly, and there's the crowds. What you're looking at here, it's about to get a whole lot bigger. All the people are working their way from the starts, which we just got to see here on Racer TV Live. Now these people are going to work their way down, and we're going to see, you can see right here in the middle of our screen, that is a jump that goes over the mud hole, and we're going to see how many guys are going to send that today.
Johnny, we've had plenty of action already there. That 10 o'clock race, we sat here, I don't know how long, and bless their hearts, man, a lot of guys had some great lines and great runs at it, but it only takes one guy to miss down there, and then it's a chain reaction.
Yeah, just building up to as these guys work their way through. I'd say they're somewhere, maybe halfway around the track or so by now. As we can see in the upper right corner of our screen, this is the 11-mile marker. So this is just before the finish of the 12-mile loop. So as these guys work their way towards that mud hole we were just looking at, there's a lot of technical sections coming to that, but that's the first opportunity we get to see where they're really going to get a chance to mix it up. And if somebody doesn't jump it, they're going to lose a whole lot of time.
No question about that. Now, we affectionately refer to these fans down there as the mud fleas. Now, they have to know that that's a highly regarded term. That comes from the original spectators, not just of the Blackwater 100, but from the Highway 93 river crossing. Those were the original mud fleas. So when that term is used regarding these spectators, that's done with much respect and high regard.
Yeah, absolutely. At the core of GNCC racing, it started out as some guys racing, four-wheelers and three-wheelers and originally just dirt bikes through the woods. And, there's a lot of times, especially at a famed race like Blackwater, where there's so many portions of the course that you really couldn't possibly navigate without some assistance. And that's where GNCC became such a spectator-friendly sport throughout the history, is people can get in on the action. Word to the wise, though, if you're watching at home and you plan on coming out to a race soon, or if you're here today, listen, keep your head on a swivel. Obviously, this is one of the great things about GNCC racing, as Rodney Tomlin always says, there are no fence barriers. There's nothing keeping you away from the action, so you can get right in there. But keep your head on a swivel, be aware of your surroundings, and keep it safe. And that's what everybody will be doing down here at this mud hole today. These people, if somebody gets stuck, they're going to jump right in there. They make human chains. They've got tow ropes already all set up, and these guys will jump in head to toe. Saw it this morning in the 10 a.m. race, like you said. Somebody rolled off the creek jump and just stuck it right in there. And next thing you know, these guys are jumping in there, 4 or 5 of them. They're grabbing onto the forks, they're dragging, they're pulling the wheels, they're doing everything they can to get these guys going, and then the whole crowd will let out a big cheer. So what we see down there is several hundred people, and throughout the course of this race, I think we'll see that grow to possibly several thousand.
No question about it. Now, you mentioned no fence borders, but use a good sense border while you're down there. Absolutely. You say keep your head on a swivel, and, we'd like to respect the racetrack and the riders as much as possible. Want to keep the kids and the families and stuff safe, but I want to tell you something. You can't go to a football game and get on the sideline and get that close. You're not going to be there when they catch that touchdown pass, okay? But you might be there when they make that winning pass at GNCC.
Absolutely. Could you imagine if when Ben Roethlisberger got hit or, he got knocked down, you got to reach out and help pick him up? Well, you can do that here at GNCC Racing as long as you keep a safe distance.
I like to refer to it, too, on pro row interview and that type of thing. When you guys are doing your autographs, there's no way that you're going to spend a $150 for a Pittsburgh Steelers ticket, and then they're going to invite you into the locker room to meet Ben Roethlisberger. Here, man, we entertain you for 3 days solid. You have open access to every one of the pros, such as yourself, and it's just an opportunity that you don't find in any other sport, let alone any other motorsport.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, unparalleled access here. Just like, even if you go to a NASCAR race, you can buy a ticket to get to pit row, or even Supercross. You can buy a pit pass. You can come in, and at certain times of the day, you can catch a little action. You can
limited access. That's right.
You can maybe get fairly close and rub elbows with the riders, but here at GNCC Racing, these are some of the biggest stars in all of sports, and they're walking right around with you. And while they're grabbing a sandwich, you can walk up and pat them on the back and wish them good luck. So unparalleled access. What we're looking at here, actually, Megawatt, is our 6-mile marker, and this, as we see just to the left of where we're looking now, there's what we're calling the rock section. It's an optional section where either they can go through the rock garden or around, which is, as Barry Hawk pointed out, somewhere between 10 and 15 seconds squatting around versus going through. So again, this is one of those options. We've got the mud hole where you can either jump it and not even get dirty, or there's anywhere from 15 to 20 different lines through that mud hole, or there's a completely out and around way, which must be at least 15 seconds longer. And then again, at the rock section here, same thing. They can either go out and around like that rider is there, or these guys right here working their way through. So, as we said, Barry Hawk was telling us a little bit about this rock section earlier on the starting line, and he can tell us a whole bit about this Powerline Park facility and the track they've got laid out for us in this track description from the trail boss, Barry Hawk.
Hello everyone, we've got a 12-mile track laid out today. When the guys take off the start, they're actually going to be starting at the 2-mile marker, so the first lap's going to be shorter than the rest of the laps all day. When they go in the woods, the first real obstacle they're going to come to is about the 3.5 mile marker. They're going to drop down a really steep, long downhill, and then they're going to get into a rocky creek section, run up that creek section, and at the end of that creek, they're going to have to make a left at the uphill. There's a FMF power point.
And there we go, folks. Sorry, we'll get back to the rest of our track description, but what we're seeing on the screen right now is Ryan Sipes has just jumped the mud hole. He is in the lead. It looked like Josh Strang in second. Couldn't tell who that was in third, actually.
Was that Josh in second?
Josh Strang was in, I believe it was Corey Buttrick, the 121 on the beta. I was going to say that, but I guess that's actually who it was. This looks like Grant Baylor working his way down. That would have him in fourth. Looks like Chris Bach there in fifth. So there's Baylor. He's over the mud hole, no problem. Bach over the mud hole. Thad Duvall just behind him. hometown race for Thad. Jordan Ashburn just behind him, so it looks like you've got our top 7 or 8 through at this point, and they've all navigated this mud hole, this jump right over it like we talked about, Megawatt, with no troubles. They're fairly strung out here. I mean, we are 11 miles in, but that looks to be a visiting rider. I think that's Nick Farringer, who rides the National Enduro Series and the OMA Series as well, here giving GNCC a try on an off weekend. And then Chris Douglas on the Obermeyer Suzuki. Again, all these guys over the mud hole, seemingly no problems, but I can assure you this is get pretty exciting here in just a few minutes when some of the amateur riders work their way through. Takeshi Koiketa works his way through on the Honda. These guys are, again, up and over. It looks not, but what we're looking at right in the center of the screen there, that's not just a water puddle. We saw some guys roll off into that, like you said, in the 10 a.m. race, and they are completely buried. You can't even see their handlebars. So when definitely don't want to end up down in there.
Well, the gentleman that was helping him out there looked to be about 6'4", and it was every bit waist deep on him. So looks like JT, Jason Thomas, making his way, a little wave to the crowd, actually, as he jumps over. And
right behind him, who do you think that was?
You know, I saw a green plate there real quick, but
come on, let's think about it. We see Jason Thomas. Who do we see?
Oh,
Nick Davis.
Got Nick Davis right behind him.
Those two were glued together just like they have been throughout, 12 rounds of racing so far, including the first lap today. So there's your top 2 in XC2. That looked like Ricky Russell.
Yep.
So we've got, looks like at least the top 3 in XC2 have worked their way through. They'll be checking in to finish the completion of lap 1 here. We're at 23 minutes and 42 seconds since we've started racing. We can actually hear them in the woods up above the finish line area, so they're working their way through. I'm guessing we're going to be looking somewhere in the neighborhood of a 25, 26-minute first lap.
Yeah, I'd say that's about accurate. It was about 27 minutes or so for Vance and those guys this morning and back in them, and I'd say you're going to be very close with the track changes and stuff. The sweet spot where these guys are landing, I mean, these guys are hitting the sweet spot, but about 2 foot behind them, it gets really soft right in front of that last bit of water, Johnny, and I want to promise you, we saw the rodeo rides, we saw the huckabuck, and here we go, back to our leader, Ryan Sipes out front on the Rockstar Husqvarna, looking good. Look at this, elbows up, leading with the chin. Johnny showing perfect form, and it's extremely slick. To the viewers at home, it may not look like it, but those sections are steep, off camber, and that hard pack is almost like glass.
Yeah, absolutely, Megawatt. And Ryan Sipes, you know, he's got great form coming from a motocross background. His bike skills are quite good. It's really just been the technical aspect of GNCC that he's been working on over the last several years. But he's, you know, we've seen him lead early, but it's always been him and Caleb Russell coming down to the end. We've seen him battle Thad Duvall and Josh Strang the last couple races, but here early today, we've got two of the favorites right up front there with obviously Ryan Sipes and then Josh Strang in the second place spot. Third place, like we said, we believe was Corey Buttrick. He should be checking in, and if we, interesting to note that it seems Ryan Sipes went ahead and took a drink, so 25 minutes into this one, he's already starting to rehydrate, so perhaps that's something that they've been working on as a plan, you know, to get themselves better prepared and even more ready to go for these 3-hour races.
Yeah, Johnny, as you know, just a couple weeks ago, Josh Strang having a few issues, man. What do you think his intents are today as far as redemption's concerned?
Well, I think there's no question that Josh Strang obviously wants to try and get a win. You know, he was able to get one, obviously, with Caleb Russell having a little bit of an issue there with the knee and preparing to have the surgery there at Unadilla. Josh Strang pulled through, got the win, and then had like you said, a little bit of a struggle in Somerset 2 weeks ago. But if you note, he did come on very strong at the end of that race. So obviously it wasn't a speed thing, it wasn't a fitness thing. You know, Josh just had some miscues throughout that race that set him back a little bit. And, you know, I think he's going to be on a tear today, and he's going to really want to get out there and show these guys that if Caleb's not here, he's the man. And maybe even when Caleb come back, he wants to show Caleb that he's the man.
You know, very possible. And with the skills he's shown us in the last couple of weeks and the rides he's had, the last couple of months actually, I think there's no question he has the ability to do that here today, and this could be the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now there we see Jason Thomas. That should be our XC2 leader checking in. We're going to see if we can get an update from scoring here in just a moment. And there is Nick Davis, just a shadow behind him. And like I said, you know, it really has been fun to watch these guys this year. Thomas working his way down the VP Fuels Pro row. He's running that white number plate with the green number 1, indicating the points leader. Well, the points leader is kind of a moot point right now because Jason Thomas wrapped up that championship last weekend at the Somerset GNCC. We see a few more of our XC2 riders working through, and that's Adam Bonner, one of our XC1 riders, mixing it up with one of the beta guys from the XC2 class. So these guys just a little further back here and, you know, really putting the moves on each other, being aggressive. think that was Teagan Temple, the 525, who just crossed there.
I actually lost track there. It looks like Thad's in 5th position. I didn't actually see him come across. You and I were talking there.
Yeah,
and then,
actually
where's Chris at? Where's Chris Bach?
Bach's in 6th there. It was actually Baylor, Duvall,
Okay.
and Bach were nose to tail coming across the finish line, the 3 of them. But obviously Ryan Sipes out front, Josh Strang in 2nd. And I'll tell you what, Megawatt, let's talk about this right now while we have the opportunity. Corey Buttrick in 3rd place. He's an Ohio boy. Granted, he's maybe a little closer to the Penton as far as his home race, being from Logan, Ohio there, but he's probably less than an hour, but definitely less than 2 hours from home here. And, you know, Corey's been showing a renewed force in GNCC racing. He won races, you know, just as recently as 4 or 5 years ago. He went through several knee surgeries. You know, a lot of people within the industry, even himself, doubted would he be able to come back and even race, let alone compete at the highest level. You know, he came back, raced last year in the XC2 class with that beta team. This year came back, really focused on GNCC. Last year he kind of focused more on the Enduros. And, you know, based on some things that happened over the summer break, Corey's made the decision that instead of finishing out the season in XC2, he switched from the 250cc 2-stroke to the 450cc 4-stroke, came out, put in a solid race at Unadilla, ended up, I believe it was 9th place in XC1, and his overall was one of the better ones that he's had all year. We see Stu Baylor in the pit, so he's a ways back and doesn't really seem to have a lot of urgency right now. So it looks like they've making some possible adjustments to the front end of that machine. He's getting a drink. We see his mom there. She took him his goggles, gave him some fresh ones, but we'll have to get an update and see exactly what the issues are Stu's experiencing that have him in the pits spending that extra time so early in the race. But, you know, as we were talking about with Corey Buttrick, now we see Stu's got his helmet off. So, obviously, whatever issue they're having, it's something that they don't think they're going to be able to get fixed very quickly.
Such a bummer, too. Always 100% effort from these guys. You know, anytime the Baylor brothers are involved, you're going to get a great show and a great performance. But bad signs right there. As you mentioned, no urgency when he pulled into the pits was the first sign, but pulling that helmet is that's an indicator we're going to be a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, back to the Corey Buttrick thing while we're watching Stu, and maybe we can get an update here in just a few minutes and let the viewers at home know exactly what is going on. But, you know, Corey Buttrick has really been on an uptick here lately. You know, he came out, had a great ride at Unadilla, and then last weekend at the National Enduro, finished on the podium in 3rd place. And I was watching the results throughout the day, and his test results, it wasn't just a matter of consistency that got him that 3rd place spot. He had some very impressive test results where he was, you know, top 2 and top 3 all day long. So obviously his speed is really progressing well. He's riding that 450 machine very well. And from all intents, from what I've heard, based on some changes within the structure of the classes, it seems like Corey Buttrick will be racing XC1 next year based on his age. He will not be racing XC2. So he said, you know what, might as well just give it a shot and see what it's all about. Obviously, he had done it many years past, but it had been quite some time. So rehabbed, the knee's good, everything's ready to go, and Corey Buttrick's on a tear here early at the ITP Powerline Park.
One of our unique stories about your kids, you know, Corey himself, when as a youth rider, championship rider, and that kind of thing, and just taking some different paths over the years, but here back on track and having a 450cc 4-stroke underneath of him, looks like he's gelling well with that machine. Hey, and it looks like we need to take a break, Johnny, so we'll be right back with our viewers in just a few minutes.
That actually looks like Trevor Bollinger in the pits, so one of our top XC2 guys is in. They're putting his bike up on a stand, and that's ironic, obviously, being that Bollinger and Baylor were teammates earlier in the year. Bollinger made some changes, and you see them both kind of in the same stance there checking their machines out. So perhaps, look at him, he's looking down, he sees Baylor, he's like, man, this just isn't the year we were looking for, bud.
No question, and good sign there. Baylor put his Baylor put his helmet back on a second ago, and you know, it looked like he was ready to go. Now he's back off the bike. The helmet's still on, but we'll look back into this situation in just a couple minutes. Right now, we're going to take a break.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
General RV is going to help you go camping with locations across the nation and thousands of RVs to choose from. General RV is the nation's largest family-owned RV dealer. At General RV, you'll save thousands on everything from trailers that sleep the whole family right up to motorhomes that are amazing and so economical to travel in. General RV is the only dealer who can show you this much and save you this much. With a great deal from General RV, you'll discover how much fun camping can be.
Live here from the ITP Powerline Park GNCC. Rodney Tomlin now along with you. Johnny Gallagher and Megawatt Matt Watson making his way out into the pit area. And of course, we are watching out near this 11-mile marker what is the infamous Powerline mud hole. I know Megawatt and Johnny were talking about it quite intensely there just a few moments ago. It is kind of the high action spot of the race course when we aren't watching other things. There's a lot of neat and interesting things happening, and that morning race really brought out a lot of...
Oh, I thought we were going to get to see it. we saw it a couple times in the 10 a.m. race. Guys come up. They don't listen to the mud fleas. They don't listen to the spectators. They hop down in there, or roll down in there, I guess I should say, and then we get to see their bike disappear. So we haven't seen it yet, but notice right now we're looking at the backside of this the creek jump here, and it's perfectly dry. However, if somebody rolls down in there and roosts all that back, here we go, one rider open over, no problems for that guy. But, you know, we can see those guys are nowhere near as smooth as our XC1 and XC2 guys were when they come through. They're actually jumping completely over the soft spot like the XC1 guys were yesterday.
Yeah. We were watching some of the
race.
video from this morning's 10 a.m. race, and there were several riders that were coming up short. And you're right, if you come up a little short there's some soft area that will suck you up. If you hit your front wheel too soon, you're going to go over the bars and you'll bury that back wheel up. That whole water, Johnny, just on the other side of that jump there, it looks very deceiving. I mean, you think, what, maybe knee deep, halfway into your knees?
We were talking about that, Rodney, you know, with the issue with the guys rolling off the jump or not quite making it far enough. That is deep. That is a swamp. That is, you know, it's bottomless, basically. Megawatt was saying in the 10 a.m. race, there was a guy that looked to be 6'3", 6'4", standing in there, and, you know, he was barely shoulders out of the water. So
yeah, he had they had 4 mud fleas and a winch on an ATV to get that one motorcycle out of that whole water. It was pretty grueling, that's for sure, to say the least.
You know, and it's really one of those times where you can really make, or really one of those places where you can really make time. Obviously, if you hop right over that mud hole, no issues whatsoever, saves you, you know, upwards of 20 seconds versus going all the way out and around the long way. But there's a price to pay if you don't do it just right. If you, you know, you got to listen to the spectators down there. You got to listen to the people that are there to help. And one of the things about GNCC racing that, as we were talking about a little bit ago, is so unique is that there are people there to help you. You just have to know which one of those are. You've got spectators, and then you've got mud fleas. Rodney, why don't you tell us a little bit about the difference?
Well, a spectator is oftentimes someone that you just see standing off to the side of the racetrack. They're normally pretty well dressed. If not well dressed, they're at least clean. Oh, there's one of those short stops that we were talking about. But a mud flea, on the other hand, can generally be covered from head to toe in mud. And why? Because they hit those mud holes like a pack of fleas. Whenever the guys get stuck, they just kind of converge on them like a dog just walked through a flea patch or something. It's pretty crazy. And we did have a chance to do a little special feature on the mud flea because, man, these guys are certainly an important part of GNCC.
I help mud flea because these bikes and foolers get stuck. Someone's got to get them out, keep this race going. That's very much all there is to it. Mud fleas, baby.
Well, Johnny, I tell you what, watching the Mud Fleas right now, there is one thing for sure.
Oh, no, that's not how you do it right there.
No, and, you know, the Mud Fleas weren't as thick today as what they were for the four-wheelers yesterday, but those guys, they really got in there. They got deep, and that hole that we saw got deeper as the morning progressed as well. So when we, oh, mercy, there's some
and
short.
we're back to live, and now we see where those Mud Fleas come in handy. You know, they'll point to the good lines, and if you do get stuck, they'll jump right in there and help you out. And you know, they're such a big part of GNCC racing, and you know, all down through there, you can see those guys going way out around the end. All down through there are different lines that are basically get progressively more difficult the closer. Oh my goodness.
I hate to laugh, I really, really do, but it's really hard not to whenever you see somebody do that and know that they're going to be all right after something like that. But wow, that's a good way to break momentum on your racing as well, Johnny. I mean, you can have a really good day going and something like that happen, especially if that's the last lap and something like that happens to you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it really is. This jump is for the more skilled riders. You know, the kind of top tier guys that are out there, and you know, it's open to anyone. GNCC Racing, that's up to you to make your decision as to whether or not you feel your skill set and your abilities are up to that. And unfortunately, you know, I may be hated for saying this, but a lot of people just make the wrong decision. They really overestimate their abilities, you know, or at least their commitment, I guess you could say. There's another example.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, you don't want to see these guys get hurt, but you know, there's all kinds of ways around this, and sometimes they're just picking the wrong way.
And sometimes they might pick the wrong way and things work out well for them too. So we'll be watching that right there. Josh Strang in the number 2 spot behind Ryan Sipes at last check. They were just under 10 seconds and about 8.5 seconds separating. Corey Buttrick, I think the story of the day right now, the Ohio boy up into the number 3 spot to open things up there, and he's got to be feeling good coming into this race day to day. Grant Baylor, another solid start for him as he's about 23 seconds off pace, but for Grant Baylor, that's as good as being in second place right now, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, but I mean, I know we were just talking about him before we went to break, but let's talk about Corey Buttrick. You know, this has got to be the feel-good story of the day so far. For him to start out running in a podium position after 1 lap of racing, only 3.9 seconds behind Josh Strang. You know, Corey Buttrick, I've been saying it all year long, he just needed that shot in the arm. He needed that little something, that confidence, that little bit of extra oomph, you know, to go ahead and do what it takes to get up on that podium and start battling for wins. I did see that that rider got up and going there, looked like he was uninjured, and that was one of the Madison boys, Rick Madison's sons, that he was down there looking at this morning and said, you know, I don't know if I'm going to jump it, I don't know if I should, and then he watched the top WXC riders come through and they jumped it, and he said, well, if they can do it, sure, I can do it. So maybe the next lap he'll be able to get a little bit smoother, but he had it, just landed in the wrong spot. Jumped it right, just didn't quite stick the landing.
There you go. And of course, don't forget, right now is a good time to maybe pick your podium predictions. We've got tweet your podium prediction finishers to hashtag GNCC Live and a chance to win $250 in AMSOIL product. So be sure and get those. Again, you don't have to be right, but pick them and see what you can get. Hashtag GNCC Live. Like we said, it could be $250 of AMSOIL product in your pocket. And yeah, you were talking about Corey Buttrick there just a second ago, Johnny, and the feel-good story and the great things, that shot in the arm. I think a lot of that is being here in the home soils. You know, I know John Penton is really his home track because he's right there from Athens, so to speak. But in reality, any of these Ohio tracks, and especially after he's got his feet back wet, he's got back up to speed, and he's back up to the front row. This is a perfect place and a perfect day for him to reestablish himself as one of GNCC's elite.
Yeah, certainly, you know, and it'd be awesome to see Corey stay up in that position for, you know, as much of the race as he possibly can, or maybe even get himself a podium and finish up there. That'd be great, and I'm sure the Ohio fans would go crazy for him. But just the fact that he's showing the speed early, that he's battling with these guys, you know, it's so many steps that it takes to get to the top, and then when you have an injury and you're rehabbing it and you're trying to come back from that, and it's been such a long, hard road for Corey Buttrick, you know, to see him up here even just for 1 lap at this point, this is like a win already today for him.
The good thing about it is here in any minute now, we should be seeing the lead riders come through this section here at the 11-mile marker, 12.5-mile race course. So about a little more to the finish line from this particular area. But regardless, this is where we're going to get a chance to see how this race is starting to shape up. It's been a while since we had a chance to see him around the 5 or 7 mile marker, I think. So it's been a few minutes. A lot of things can change. And we talk about the varying terrain on this racetrack. We've got creek jumps, we've got hill climbs, we've got wide open field sections. We've got rock quarries basically to try to go through. They call the enduro cross sections. And so hard packed, slick areas, water holes to try to maneuver through. So there's about everything that you can be thrown at you in a GNCC race. This is another one of those races that's able to do it. It may not be the big boulders and rocks and the mountains of some of the places we go, but the other varying terrains, I think we got the most extreme in those.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's I was surprised when we pulled in here on Friday and there was dust kicking up. You know, it's we've had so much rain in northeastern Ohio lately, but obviously we're further south, almost down to West Virginia here, Wheeling just across the bridge basically. So they must have had quite a bit more rain down here than what we've had up north, or quite a bit less rain, I'm sorry. You know, but one thing you can always count on in Powerline Park is diverse conditions, diverse terrain, and then there's going to be some mud holes. Doesn't matter. It could not rain until next year, and this would be mud hole. This Powerline would be a mud hole. So
we've been here some dry years, and this has always been mud. And some of the driest years, it seems to actually be worse. I don't know what it is that creates that, but it does. As these riders are approaching this section of the racetrack, Johnny, we got a few cool things to really think about and look at as they make their way in. Grant Baylor was running some 23 seconds back behind Corey Buttrick, who was your third place ride, but Thad Duvall, who is fresh off of a race win 2 weeks ago, only 1.2 seconds back, and again, another rider that you could consider here at home here in Ohio, as he is just right across the river, just a little south of here in Williamstown. You travel south down Ohio 7 or down the Ohio River, and Williamstown's probably about 60 miles south of here, and that's about where Thad Duvall is from. So he's feeling pretty good, I'm sure, in this one, even though riding in the number 5 spot right now. So we'll be curious to see how things are starting to shake up for him. We got Chris Bach back in 6th. Jason Thomas, XC2 Pro Lights champion now, is 7th place. Jordan Ashburn is 8th. Nick Davis, 2nd place in the XC2 Pro Lights right now, is 9th place overall. And rough and rowdy, Ricky Russell, he says he's feeling it. He's feeling rough and rowdy today. He's ready to come and lay some laps down here in Ohio, I think.
Yeah, I know Ricky was really disappointed after the last race in Somerset. Spoke with him a little bit after the race, and he's you know, one of the top guys in that class, and it just hasn't been his year. He's won a couple races, he's been up front a couple times, but you know, it's really been tough for him. He was a force to be reckoned with in that class last year. Actually was in a great position to take the championship. Yeah. I believe had a points lead and a pretty substantial points lead, and ultimately broke his wrist. And Jason Thomas, or I'm sorry, yeah,
Grant Baylor won last year.
Yeah, Grant Baylor ended up winning the championship. Yeah, I had a blank out there for a minute.
Yeah, I know, and I'll tell you one of the neat things about that, and I was talking with Grant Baylor about this today. He said something about his rookie season, and I'm like, wow, you know, it's hard to believe. Here we are 12 races in, and it already doesn't feel like he's a rookie. We see him as a veteran of this class, and really, I mean, this is only race number 12 of his XC1 career.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, 13, because he did race, I believe it was Ironman he raced, or maybe even the last 2. After he wrapped up the championship, he did move to XC1. But yes, in his first full season, the fact that Grant has been, you know, throughout most of the season, second in points, was only passed by Thad Duvall at the last race for that second place position. You know, it really shows Grant not only has the speed, which we knew he would, the consistency and the focus that it takes to run on that front row with the best riders in the world. Grant is proving week in and week out that he's there.
And he's only just a few points out of that second place position.
There's actually Trevor Bollinger working his way through that enduro cross section. So we know he lost quite a bit of time. He's back with some of our A and B class riders now. So we'll have to check in and possibly get an update on exactly what it was that Bollinger and Baylor were both doing in the pits there for an extended period of time. They both had their helmets off. They were both checking over their machines, but we did see Baylor go back out, and now we have seen Trevor Bollinger obviously come by at the 6 mile marker. So both those guys back out on the track and hammer down, trying to make up time, potentially try and salvage any points that they might be able to do so today.
48 minutes now into this race here at Powerline Park GNCC. We are in the midst of lap number 2. We're watching mile marker number 6 right now as this is one of those varying terrain and obstacles that we were talking about. This is the man-made obstacle. This is an obstacle that they run Jeeps over and UTVs and things like that for the off-road events that they have here. But for GNCC, that's what we call our Enduro Cross style section. And that, Johnny, a challenge on 2 wheels, and I imagine it's a fairly big challenge as well on 4 wheels, because it literally, if nothing else, just the size of the boulders themselves have got to be a major obstacle.
Yeah, actually, I don't believe that section was open for us yesterday.
Really? I thought it was open for you guys yesterday.
Well, if it was, I wasn't aware of it.
Well, I may have been mistaken, but I swear I thought I heard Barry Hawk say in the riders meeting that it would be available. It would save you about 15 seconds if you wanted to hit it. But then again, I may be mistaken.
I didn't. None of the riders I was with all day went. We all went around. So,
have you guys ever hit that before, though?
No, they've never opened it for us.
Oh, okay.
So I don't believe that it was open, but if it was, we all missed it. It would have been a great opportunity for a pass.
I swear.
I actually had some issues before the race yesterday and was very, very late to the starting line, so I missed Barry Hawk's speech. I missed the I missed the national anthem. I missed the prayer. I
you
literally
were just lucky
got there.
to be out there.
Yeah, and actually it's funny. It's been a trend this weekend with myself and kind of all the people that I'm around. I don't know if it's just being close to home and having all the extra family.
I was a day late.
You know, I got here late Friday night. Normally pull in early Friday morning. I got here pretty late Friday night. Oh, here we see our leaders coming through. Looks like we have a new leader, Josh Strang, the number 2 on the Rockstar Husqvarna. Looks like he's out front. He's hammered down and right over the mud jump, no problem.
Yep. Very nice bike placement. Look at the lead he's already established now over, that's Ryan Sipes still back there, at least in the number 2. Is it? Yes.
Yes. Yep, that is it. Ryan Sipes there in the 2nd place position. Now, last we had seen, it was Corey Buttrick in the 3rd place position, a mere 3 seconds behind. So it looks like Buttrick has lost a little bit of time to Strang and Sipes. We'll see if he's been able to hang on to that 3rd spot. We're also waiting on Grant Baylor, Thad Duvall, and there is Thad Duvall. Thad Duvall now in the 3rd. Corey Buttrick right on his rear wheel, though, in 4th. So
and that's what I kind of anticipated. We should see a fever of riding coming out of Thad Duvall. And that's a good place right now for Thad and for Corey Buttrick. If he can hook up and latch on to Thad, those 2 right there could carry themselves to a pretty good finish at the end of this race, by the end of this race.
Yeah, and that was Grant Baylor just behind those guys. Now we see Chris Bach and Jordan Ashburn working their way over the mud hole jump.
So your leader is starting to stretch things out just a little bit now. Josh Strang over Ryan Sipes. They've got a little bit of a gap back to the 3rd and 4th place positions, Johnny, but it looks like the 5th, 6th, and 7th place guys are not too far off pace. There is, Grant Baylor being one of those guys, of course, Thad Duvall, Chris Bach, also Jordan Ashburn, I believe we should be seeing come through there. That gap might be opening up back to him, but there's 3 or 4 of those guys that are running kind of close together right there, and those guys, actually that could be a benefit to both of them, and it may not even be a shock or a surprise to see if they can capitalize on a few things today, especially when lap traffic starts to get a little thicker. As we have several riders out on the course today, they could manipulate things and change the face of this race. We could see those 3 battle it out for the top 3 overall.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and here we see, you know, Rodney, I can't say this enough, Jason Thomas and Nick Davis. And that was a little bit of an ugly one for Nick Davis. He dropped the front end there and almost got gnarly. But, man, those 2 guys have just been glued together throughout 2015, maybe like nothing we've ever seen before in racing.
You're right. You know, we have seen a lot of rivalries. And, you know, over the course of the last several years, Jason Thomas has been at the heart of a lot of those XC2 Pro Lights rivalries. But this one between he and Nick Davis, man, the beauty of this one, you know, we saw it get a little ugly at one point in the early part of the year, and then those guys really settled down in their battle and have been having some very respectful, interesting, and exciting battles unfold. And we watched it last week, and here we are picking it up, watching it again this week. Here is Josh Strang now making his way in near the finish line chicanes, out near or just past the 12-mile marker at this particular point. Josh, as we told you, opening up that lead, and we'll see exactly what the real deficit in time is here in just a moment. But if you're thinking, man, these guys are coming in late, they're about 4 minutes late, well, you got to take into account they started out near the 2 mile marker. So lap 1, quite a bit shorter than the remainder laps of the day. And the first full lap turned in today, 28 minutes, 13 seconds by Josh Strang. That's pretty much on par of what we were seeing the ATV guys do yesterday as well.
Yeah, you know, I got to tell you, Rodney, Strang looks really strong, and he actually won here last year. Remember, had a heck of a battle with Caleb Russell. Caleb Russell on the 150 that weekend. Now we see Ryan Sipes checking in. Looks like a gap of 28 seconds. Now Strang into the pits, takes a splash of fuel, and he's out. The advantage that he has is by the time that Ryan Sipes rounds those,
still can't see him.
He still can't see him, so he's out. You know, Sipes isn't going to know what's going on. Doesn't know if Strang is pitted or not. He's pointing it. I'm wondering if Sipes is going to be making a stop here. He's pointing that he might be needing something, and it looks like he is coming in. We see.
Oh, he's going into the tent.
He's going into the tent, so that is not a scheduled pit stop.
Nope.
They did not have a fuel jug in hand, so
and
that
could
is
explain.
bad news for Ryan Sipes, and unfortunately that means that he is going to drop from the second place position. Now we see Duvall, there we see Buttrick and Baylor, so that now becomes our second, third, and fourth place riders, moving all these guys up one spot with Sipes at least temporary departure from the race. Looks like they're working on the rear wheel of that machine. From what I can see, they're crouched around or something on the rear of that machine.
A lot of folks I see out here today and this weekend having flat tires. Johnny, I think you were a victim of that yourself this weekend, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of sharp rocks. This isn't what we would consider one of our rockier courses, but there's creek beds that are filled with jagged rocks here that we run. And man, I got to tell you, we were carrying some crazy speed through those things yesterday. I punctured a front tire and we had to race over half the race with a busted tire, and then started chewing up the tire walls that we use for inflation. And it was really tough to ride, and I'm sure on a dirt bike it would even be tougher. So we saw that at Somerset with Jordan Ashburn having to pit and change a rear wheel, was able to do that and still come back and finish third place in the race. So we'll have to see if Sipes can mount a comeback. Maybe we'll see if Matt Watson can possibly get an update on exactly what was going on down there in the VP Fuels Pro Row.
Be nice to get a camera down there too if we could as well. But yeah, Megawatt out and about. We'll get an update from him coming up here shortly. We've got Josh Strang leading now, Thad Duvall in second, Corey Buttrick in third, and Grant Baylor in the number 4 spot. We just saw Jason Thomas checking in.
Rodney, I don't mean to cut you off, but something interesting I just saw. Both Jason Thomas and Nick Davis looking down at what appeared to be their shifters through the pro pits multiple times. So I have to wonder if something is going on. These guys are hitting something, you know, that's causing them to damage, bend, or, you know, it's strange that both of them were looking directly in the area of their shifters, and it wasn't just a quick glance. They were both doing a really close inspection, so they each had some type of contact with something that had them wondering if they were okay to good to go, or if they needed to make a stop and make some repairs.
Well, there's Chris Douglas checking in, the number 20 Obermeyer Suzuki rider. He got the whole shot a couple of weeks ago, riding in the 8th place position in class right now, the XC1 Pro class. Overall, I think that is 11th spot as we got Thomas, Davis, and Ricky Russell, all three in the top 10 overall right now. So that drops Douglas to 11th overall, but still 8th in class right now. But as we were saying, the misfortunes for Ryan Sipes, a step closer to the scenario that I dreamed up just a few moments ago for the trio of Duvall, Buttrick, and Baylor. But man, and I'm certainly not wishing anything bad on Josh Strang right now, that's for sure. But man, he has got a monstrous lead right now. The gap back to Sipes was 28 seconds. It was another 13 seconds back to Thad Duvall. And that means now that he has got about a 45-second or so lead over second, third, and fourth place finishes our riders right now. So Josh Strang riding on rails like the freight train that he has been deemed by some of the race fans around North Carolina down there. It is Strang's, Duvall, Buttrick, Taylor, and also looks like Jason Thomas would now be moving into the 5th place overall position with the absence of Sipes. The ITP Powerline Park GNCC will continue here in just a few moments. Who is going to take the win? Find out.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
This Racer TV live broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. By Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. By Maxxis Tires, find your flow. And powered by Yamaha Generators.
And welcome back to ITP Powerline Park here in St. Clairsville, Ohio, just across the river from Wheeling, West Virginia, home of the world-famous Wheeling Downs, and just south of rock and roll capital of the world, talking about Cleveland, a couple hours to our north and about an hour and a half to our west. The great AMA headquarters there in Pickerington, Ohio. Looking at mile marker number 6 now here on the course itself, the Enduro Cross section for these motorcycle guys today. And we are looking at Josh Strang, Thad Duvall, Corey Buttrick, 1, 2, and 3, Grant Baylor in 4th, as those 3 were really nose to tail. Ryan Sipes, who was running a very solid lead in lap number 1, is finding himself now with some issues. He dropped back about 30 seconds to second place position, and he had to pull into the pits. Megawatt Matt Watson is on his way down to the Sipes pits to find out exactly what's going on. Johnny Gallagher noted our leaders in the XC2 Pro Lights class looking down at their shifters like something's wrong. And looks like Megawatt is down there. Megawatt, what's going on in the Ryan Sipes pits right now?
Hey guys, we're down here in the Sipes pit right now, and we're going to get a quick update. Can you tell us exactly what's happening with Ryan in the race right now and what's going on with our pit stops?
Well, he had a rear wheel bearing go out of him, and come in, we swapped it out, had a new one laced up, ready to go, so he's out there kicking it again. So
back up to full speed, had a bearing failure, and it looks like the hub actually broke.
Yeah, and that was a new W hub and everything, but it's broke and gave way on us. So
right on, but we got him back on the track, and he's up to full speed again.
Ready to rock and roll.
All right, back to you, Rodney.
Wow, thanks a lot, Megawatt. I wonder how much time was actually lost. Normally, those kind of changes are pretty quick, and if they know what's going on, it sounded like they must have known what was going on coming into the pits, because he went right in and wheel bearing, they knew that was the problem, so boom, they're in and they're out. So that can be a pretty quick thing sometimes.
Well, I'm actually guessing that they didn't know he was coming in, because we saw his mom standing at the entrance to Pro Row with a bottle, and had they have known that he was going to be coming in, she would have just had a drink for him there. Or if they did know it was in the final seconds as he was coming in, perhaps they noted that he was having some issues. Yeah, we know that Jordan Ashburn was able to do a rear wheel change in Somerset, and if I remember correctly, it was almost exactly 3 minutes that he lost that lap.
Yep.
So barring any kind of a crazy lap time, we would assume it took him roughly 3 minutes to make that wheel change. So we'll have to see this lap. We know that when they last checked in, Ryan Sipes had a lap time of 28:50 last lap, which again, being that was the first complete lap, we don't know maybe what his time would have been.
And he had the rear wheel issue.
So with the rear wheel issue, but we know that he was in fact 28 seconds behind Josh Strang, and previously had been running a little bit faster pace than Strang. So we'll have to wait and see what that gap is from Strang back to Sipes. And again, we'll have to look at those lap times. Strang ran a 28:13, which was the fastest lap of everyone that lap. So we'll have to see exactly what Sipes' time was, assuming that he would have been running that same 28:13 pace that Strang was had he have been up front.
Duvall was running a 28:26, we tell you a 28:35 by Grant Baylor. Buttrick ran a 28:54, which was a little slower. He lost a few seconds, but again, I think possibly the best thing that could have happened for Buttrick was that he did get hooked up with Duvall and Baylor, and if he can hang with those two, this is going to be a very interesting finish. We're only an hour into this, an hour and 3 minutes now into this, lap 3. We still got roughly 2 hours of racing left to go, Johnny Gallagher, and that's a long way to go. Those first 2 hours can be somewhat predictable, and then all of a sudden it becomes very predictably unpredictable in hour 3.
Yeah, absolutely. With these 180-minute, 3-hour races, it's really honestly like 3 different races within a race itself. You know, it's almost impossible. You know, we've seen some guys maybe capable of doing it. We've seen Caleb Russell maybe sprint for 2 hours, but to be able to sprint for 3 hours, not that physically these guys aren't capable of it because they're amazing athletes, but the focus that it takes to be able to sprint and run on the edge. So what we see a lot of times is we'll see these guys sprint early, and then they'll kind of take a little bit of a break in the middle of the race, and then they'll sprint again late. And we can tell this by the lap times. But Grant Baylor is a bit of an anomaly in that he typically doesn't get up front early, and he starts his charge after the hour mark, and then like a big diesel engine, he just keeps warming up and warming up and warming up. And then by the end of the race, we see him throwing down lap times that oftentimes, even when he was in the XC2 class last year, were considerably faster than every other rider on the track.
I spoke with him about that precisely this morning in pre-race interviews. And, you know, he said, and I noted that there was a bit of a change. If you remember, he actually started out front in the front group and kind of hung there, dropped back a little bit, and then came back up at the end of the race. But he said he had actually, that was a result of his latest training. He says he switched up his training just a little bit, and he is trying to sprint a little bit more in the earlier part of the race so he doesn't have to push to make up so much in the end. And then at the same time, the push that he makes, he wants to start making it a push to win, not just a push for a podium position.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's Grant's always been able to, this year, seems like he's always able to get up in there and push for a podium position late. But we saw, you know, whether it was Sipes and Caleb or, you know, it was typically Sipes, Caleb, and Strang that seemed to be up front. Bach, a couple races there. Those guys were oftentimes so far ahead of Grant by the time he really got rolling. Even if he was running considerably faster lap times, the gap was just too big. So like you pointed out, he realized that was something with his program that he needed to push on. There we see Joey Maurer, one of the factory Husqvarna mechanics. Looks like he's waiting on Josh Strang to come through and give him a little bit of a pit board update, let him know what kind of a gap he's got, and give him a little bit of information so he can keep continuing to evolve with his race strategy there.
Well, definitely a brisk fall day. We talked about the cool temperatures and the varying conditions from what we'd seen so far, at least recently in GNCC, to here we are in Ohio, a little chilly. You see everybody all bundled up and everything. It looks like
here he comes.
Here comes Josh Strang. Yep. So Josh Strang getting the pit board. I'm sure that has to say something in the lines of big lead, keep pushing, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, knowing Joey, it could say something along the lines of just get it done, man. Joey's a pretty to the point kind of guy. Obviously, he's Andrew DeLong's mechanic, with DeLong being out injured this weekend. Andrew, if you're watching at home, obviously we wish you were here. Get healed up and ready to go for next season. From my understanding, he will be back with that. Oh, and there we see Thad Duvall. So I don't know that that gap was quite all that. And look at this, Corey Buttrick still hanging tough. Oh, and I'm sorry, Grant Baylor's actually made the pass. So Grant Baylor now into the 3rd spot. Thad Duvall in 2nd, and Corey Buttrick solidly there in 4th. Corey looks great, man. I'm really pumped for this guy right now.
I am too, and I'm expecting this ride, even if he doesn't make a podium position today. I think that he should be a strong top 5. If not, it's still a lot to build on in his comeback. You know, I likened his story as to a hero. It was funny. I went to a chapel service this morning with Team Faith's Chuck LeMaster down on Vendor Row, and he was talking about different things and talking about heroes. And he says, you know, heroes never really become heroes until they've really gone through a turmoil or a struggle in their life. And turmoil has certainly struck Corey. I mean, he grew up in the GNCC as one of the noted favorites to be one of the top GNCC competitors of his era. Did it through the youth, did it through the amateurs, was well on his way in the XC1 Pro class whenever the wheels kind of fell off of that program. And you know, the last 3 years or so have just been a major struggle for him. I'm sure he's had to deal with a lot, not only physically, but a lot of things mentally, man. Being on top of the world, basically having to start from scratch. And he did it a couple of different times over the course of the last 3-4 years, too. So to see him now etching his way and inching his way back up into those ranks, it is awesome. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and like we've talked about, this sport is so tough physically and mentally. You know, to have to come from the amateur ranks and work your way up through once is something that it's a 1 in a million opportunity to be able to do it a second time, like, you know, Corey Buttrick could potentially do here in the future, or is doing right now, is it's just pretty awesome to see.
Thad Duvall now up to the number 2 spot, and of course we got Megawatt Matt Watson standing by with Fred Andrews.
All over Jason Thomas right now at the 6 mile mark.
Yeah, you know, Jason's a real smart rider, and I told Nick to, you know, if he had to, follow him today and learn from him and just try to get him at the end. You got to stay with him. This track here is really fast out there, and if the leader gets away from you, you're not going to catch up. And you know, Thad's in second right now. You know, Ryan Sipes had some bad luck with his rear wheel, and you know, Strang's a little bit ahead of him, so Thad's either got to buckle down right now and try to get inside of him, because if you let Strang get away, you know, like I said, it's really fast and he's not going to catch him. So we'll see what happens. You know, we just want our guys to be safe out there and have fun. And the weather's perfect, the track's perfect, man. There's people everywhere, so it's got to be exciting to watch this on TV.
I tell you this much, you guys are in perfect track position right now at this point in the race. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yes, sir. You know, we're right there. I would like that to be a little bit, but Nick knows what he needs to do, and so does Thad. These guys are good at what they do, and
awesome. Hey, thanks a million, Fred, and back to you guys in the studio, Rodney.
All right, thanks a lot, Megawatt. A little bit of technical difficulties. There's Chris Douglas on the Obermeyer Suzuki making his way through now. Again,
Rodney, I could be wrong, but I know that's Austin Lee there, and I did not see Ricky Russell. So it's possible Austin Lee has moved up to 3rd place in our XC2 class. He was 52 seconds behind Russell, so unless I missed Russell on screen, if he did not come through, that would put Austin Lee in a podium position for the first time ever in his XC2 career.
And that's coming right on par and right on pace with where it needs to, I think, in his career, given his chance to grow there. We've seen him, another one of those riders that made his way through the ranks, and Austin has been a big name since he was on the 65s, I think.
Oh, man, talk about that mohawk. You never can tell it's anybody but Austin Lee when they're coming through with the mohawk across the top of their helmet.
We're looking at an hour and almost 11 minutes into this race now. Josh Strang, Thad Duvall, Corey Buttrick, Grant Baylor, and we're thinking Chris Bach, your XC1 fifth place rider in XC1 Pro class. But again, we see Jason Thomas is 6th, and we're not real sure where Ryan Sipes is. You know, Thad Duvall got the ball rolling real well there last race when he was able to capture that win, and I think that in all honesty, that was the shot in the arm that program has been needing. We've seen him advancing over the course of the last year or two, well, the last few years, and we've seen nothing but great progressions out of him, but we've seen leaps and bounds by Thad Duvall this year, and that win just kind of, I think, a true indicator of exactly what we're talking about. And one of our contributors, who is actually a GNCC youth racer, Jesse Ansley, I think may have even taken the win earlier today, put together this nice little feature on Thad Duvall.
All right, here we are, round 12, Powerline Park. Pretty cold today, but you know, I got high expectations coming in today. You know, at Somerset, I got my first win of 2015. It felt good, you know, coming off break. I worked really hard over summer break and did some testing and tuning and got the bike a lot better. And you know, I came in the Unadilla and you know, battled for the lead all day and just let it slip away and got second. And you know, to come into Somerset and get that win, it felt good. And you know, I'm really excited today. You know, I've walked the track this morning and it's superb conditions. You know, I think the cold air kind of kept the moisture in the dirt, and it seems to be pretty good. And you know, this is only about an hour from my house, so it's pretty local. I got a bunch of family and friends here, and you know, I'm excited for this race and just ready to go out and put in another solid performance. You know, top 3 is always the goal, but you know, the win is definitely a plus. And you know, the Husky and myself are gelling really good, and just trying to keep it together and get that number 2 plate for next year and go from there.
Well, there you go. Just like we had anticipated there, Thad is working his way up. He sees it, he feels it, he knows it. The writing is on the wall, and Thad is trying to put a big explanation at the end of it all with a lot of things happening this year. A second consecutive win here in Ohio would certainly be a great boost to exactly what he is hoping to achieve here in 2015. Duvall up to the number 2 spot, at least some 40 seconds at last check that we should know that he was behind, but when we saw them come through at the 6-mile marker a few moments ago, there we can note that we saw that gap appeared to be a little closer than that, maybe closer to the 30-second mark, and I got kind of sidetracked there. I could hear the crowd in the background as we're waiting on the leaders here at the 11-mile marker now, waiting on Josh Strang to make his way in. You could hear something taking place there over the Powerline mud hole jump there as the crowd is really getting into it. You're seeing the many different line choices that riders are opting out on. Some of the riders coming right out of that wood section and right down toward the Powerline jump, mud hole jump. Others are electing to go out a little further and play it safe out there. And as Johnny pointed out, choosing the right line is very critical and crucial through here, and commitment is a huge part of what is going to be the formula for success for you at this Powerline mud hole. It is very passable, but if you mess up, then of course it is a great spectacle, and that's why we have literally thousands of race fans that make their way down over the course of the weekend here during a GNCC. And you've seen there are a lot of people down there right now for this afternoon motorcycle race, and they will remain there up until about the last lap before they make their way back in to congratulate our winners and call it a race day for themselves. Hour and 15 minutes into this, Rodney Tomlin, also Johnny Gallagher here with us, Megawatt Matt Watson giving us some updates. We just heard from Fred Andrews about Thad Duvall there just a few moments ago. We just actually watched the nice little and heard some words from Thad Duvall himself coming into today. Interesting. The obstacle, though, that stands between Thad Duvall and a second win is, well, in the form of the number 2 Husqvarna rider there of Josh Strang. And Josh should be making his way into sight possibly here near this 11-mile marker somewhat soon. We are under the 6-minute mark now before they are due into the finish line for lap 3 complete here. 2 laps complete, working on lap number 3 here. And still just not real sure on the timing. And one thing I can say, if Josh Strang is going to be coming anytime soon, there are a lot of bikes that are not real far ahead of him right now, and that could translate into a little bit of lap traffic, which could translate into seeing this racetrack or this race actually tighten back up because of the obstacles that lie out there, and that could put us a step closer to maybe Thad Duvall's second win. But again, Josh still did have a good buffer zone, but it appeared to be shrinking. Johnny Gallagher, I know that we noted there at the 6-mile marker a few moments ago.
Yeah, absolutely. We had seen, after we did our math with Ryan Sipes departing from the second place spot, Thad Duvall had been, at that point, 12 seconds behind with 28 seconds. Sipes was behind Strang. So as you did the math there, it was roughly 40 seconds was the gap, what we were expecting to see from Josh Strang back to Thad Duvall. We didn't have a clock on it at the 6-mile marker, but it appeared to be a little bit closer than that, which says possibly with Thad Duvall on the charge, and as you noted, obviously the guy in first is at a disadvantage with having to make the first one to be the one past the lappers to let them know that they're coming. Just makes it a little bit harder on those guys.
Yeah, and an advantage for Josh Strang right now is that he did stop for gas. We noted that that gap had closed up a little bit. That could be part of that, and it also is going to be a little bit of an advantage for him, because once these other guys have to stop, they're going to be in there for 10 or 12 seconds. So if they do close the gap up on him, he'll be able to extend it just a little bit more and get back out of sight of them again. So a good strategy, I think, by Josh Strang. And you wonder, was that the thought process coming into this one, or does he just play it by ear when he's out there?
Well, I believe that Strang has been on the 2-stop plan most races, which, looking at the math here, it looks like it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of a 6-lap race, which would mean if he stopped at 2, then he stopped after 4, he's good to go to the finish. Now, with some of these other guys, it looks like Duvall, Bach, a number of these guys that didn't fuel, Baylor, Now, it looks like they're going to try and stretch it and make, oh, do we have our leader? There he is, Josh Strang. He's up over the mud hole jump safely and on his way. Now, we'll see what the lead is. He landed there at 1:18.29. So we'll see exactly what the gap is back to Thad Duvall. I don't believe that is Thad there. No, it's not. So we're at, let's see.
About 15 seconds.
Yep. And still no sign of Thad Duvall. But again, the fuel strategy definitely going to come into play. Oh, it's Grant Baylor in the number 2 spot. So Baylor around Duvall, and it looks like he is, what do we say it was, 29, and he lands exactly 30 seconds behind. So again, it's not that 40 seconds that we had seen, but it is 30. Now, Corey Buttrick back up into the 3rd place spot. So at least for the time being, we've lost Thad Duvall at the 11-mile marker. He has not come through. So again, Buttrick back into a podium spot. You know, and he's really hanging quite close there to Grant Baylor. Looked like maybe less than 10 seconds that he was behind. He can still see Baylor. And right now, Grant Baylor is the tow truck for Corey Buttrick.
Yeah, and this, I'm telling you, this, again, regardless what happens today, at the end of this race, I think we're just now getting the glimpse of what the future is going to hold a lot with Corey Buttrick being a part of that top pack again.
And there is Jordan Ashburn in the 4th place spot, and Chris Bach in 5th. So those guys now have moved up. We still haven't seen Thad Duvall.
Yeah, where is Duvall?
We've definitely lost Thad.
We'll check with the track crew and see where Duvall is. The guys can do that in trailer width for us. We'd appreciate it. But, you know, we noted a little bit of dust out there, and I was talking with Chris Bach, and he was kind of surprised. He said it's kind of a weird thing to have such cool temperatures and have this much dust. Though it's not as dusty as it could be, there is dust, and that's something we're not used to in cool temperature at times, I don't think. But, man, we saw a major drop in the temperature over the course of the last couple of days, and last night produced a very heavy frost for those youth riders to go out and try to race in this morning, and lots of folks out in tents camping here this weekend at Powerline Park. I don't think that guy made it. Nope. Well, Jeff Russell just checked in on the radio. We're getting reports here, Johnny Gallagher, and he's working backwards on the racetrack right now looking for Thad Duvall, wondering what's going on as well. So the track crew is on it. They realize that Duvall, there's Josh Strang now out here near the 12-mile marker as we are nearing the completion of lap number 3, approaching an hour and 21 and a half minutes now. And Strang really appears to be in control of the situation right now. And as I kind of expected, he is starting to hit the tail end of some lappers. You see him go through a few lap riders out there in that open field section. He's got a bunch more just ahead of him. A 28.13 last time around. Lap 3 this time, a 28.33, so a 20-second difference there for Josh Strang on laps. And again, I think the relaxation that we're seeing him in and the lap traffic we're watching him fight with as well may be giving it a little bit of problems there. Strang makes his way down pro row there. The VP Fuels pro row. Now a hard right-hand turn, and the next rider through is that of the 314 of Grant Baylor. He was estimated at 30 seconds behind at the mud hole. Timing and scoring has him officially at 32.5 seconds behind Josh Strang now. So Grant Baylor putting himself in a great position here today as he heads, it looks like, to the pit stop. Going to fuel up in this one, and he is getting a fresh pair of goggles as well. So as expected, we are seeing the pit stops here at the end of lap 3, rolling into lap 4. Grant Baylor is in and out, and still no sign of third place, as third place is through the finish line. That is Corey Buttrick. He's 13.2 seconds back, but I don't think, well, Buttrick's over in the auxiliary pit, so he probably stopped just ahead. So Ashburn is checking in 36 seconds behind Corey Buttrick. And if Buttrick did pit there, we wouldn't have seen it because he's in the auxiliary pro row. And that would account for why we didn't see that and why we didn't see him possibly make the pass on Grant Baylor for second place, being only 13 seconds behind. Chris Bach checking in there at the finish line. He is in the number 5 position, 2.7 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn now.
Yeah, and they're both in the pits, and we see him here nose to tail. There looks like, and now Sipes working his way through the finish. So he's going to be solidly up still in the top 10. Boy, that was a quick wheel change for those guys.
Well, we talked about a 3-minute wheel change. What you got to realize is that Jordan Ashburn actually had to leave the track, ride from wherever it was he was, do what he needed to do, and then go back to that point on the racetrack. That's why we saw 3 minutes lost there. And quite possibly Ryan Sipes may have been ready and prepared to make that wheel change all on his own, went up, just grabbed the wheel, slapped it on himself, and right back out. And as we look at the grand total of time here for Ryan Sipes, he is 1 minute, 1 second behind Chris Bach, who is your 5th place ride. He laps time now, 1 hour and 21 minutes for Josh Strang, and we wanted to test that theory and see how far it was. So 121, a 124.10. So, we were in the 2.5 minute range, a little over 2 minutes, between 2.5 minutes, that we do see that Ryan Sipes did lose there in that wheel change.
Yeah, but we do see still with a 30-minute, 31-second lap time. So that's right about 2 minutes slower than Josh Strang's time. 2 minutes and 2 seconds, like you said. So it's crazy to see that, they were able to get that change so quickly. He's still up in very possibly a podium battle if he can put a couple solid laps in here.
That would be impressive to see him be able to pull something like that off, and definitely not anything impossible, but it would be certainly impressive to see it happen. And I think, again, today is one of those races and one of those racetracks you can see that happen.
Then that would be 2 races in a row that we've had a rider change a rear wheel and still end up on the podium. And a rider who was leading at the point that they had to change a rear wheel come back and finish on the podium. So if that were the case, I think you'd see a lot of guys saying, hey, maybe we need to do a mid-race wheel swap. Because it seems like every time either Ashburn or Sipes does it, they end up on the podium.
Yeah, there you go. Good strategy.
Now we do see our 4th place rider in XC2, Austin Lee, check in. We did miss Ricky Russell there at the 6 mile marker, so it is still rough and rowdy. Ricky Russell there in the 3rd place. Oh, I'm sorry, 2nd place. We've lost Nick Davis, and that is the other story of 2015. It seems like Jason Thomas and Nick Davis are glued together, and then suddenly Nick Davis disappears. And it's unfortunate. That guy's had some rough luck, and man, he can really tear up some equipment.
Is that Austin Lee there going down there?
That is Austin Lee. There's the Mohawk. So he's 3rd place now in XC2. So he's momentarily 4th. Then Nick Davis didn't check in. So now it is Austin Lee moving up into a podium position. And again, exciting day for him. You can see his crew working hard there to let him know, hey, buddy, you're on the podium. Keep it going.
Running the Mohawk, and it's working out well for him in the XC2 Pro Lights class as well. As we said, he's in that number 3 position, in and out of the pits now. An exciting day, lots of cool things I think taking place here in Ohio. I love this race, Johnny. This is the next to the last round. All the stops are pulled out by a lot of different people when we come into this one. You noted yesterday's race, that was the hardest you ever fought for, what, a 13th place finish or something like that, 12th place finish?
Yeah, I think in 22 years of racing XC1 and GNCC, I don't think I've ever ridden that fast and that hard to finish 13th. So, and that's not a statement of the fact that I'm getting slower. It's man, everybody was just rolling yesterday. I was in battles, all day long with guys that, are good, potentially top 5 guys that barely finished, not even inside the top 10 guys that finished. Marshall Goings, I think, ended up 10th, 11th. Brian Wolf, who's won races, ended up 10th. I mean, top XC1 guys that are, just things are, it's crazy how fast the sport is right now, and we see it on bike day as well. These guys are, so many guys capable of winning, so many guys capable of pushing the pace, and, they're really pushing it, and, when they push those machines, Rodney, they end up heating them up.
Yeah.
They get them warm, they get those motors warm, and you got to cool those things down.
You do.
Now, how do you cool a motorcycle or an ATV down?
Well, you got to have a good cooling system. There's no doubt about that. Good coolant for one, and then good cooling system on top of that. But not only that, you got to have a tough cooling system for GNCC racing. And our good friends that actually are, I believe, based right here in the great state of Ohio, FPS, who is by Supertrap, builds just exactly that, a tough, heavy-duty radiator, and it has more fluid capacity, and again, I say and I reiterate, tough. And the boys from RacerTV had a chance to roll into the FPS offices and check out what's going on behind the scenes.
Hi, this is Mike Adams. We're at FPS Racing, located in Cleveland, Ohio. This is the R&D lab for making aftermarket radiators. This is where we do all the fitting and R&D work for oversized radiators. We make them stronger, more fluid capacity, and this is where it takes place. We do the mock-ups all in here. Okay, after we come out of R&D, comes into here, and this is the engineering department. This is Matt Haxon. He takes it and draws it up on the computer. After all the R&D, graphic designs all done, it comes out to manufacturing. It starts as just a blank core, and they get the tanks, and they tack on, or all the tanks, and then they put the hose barbs on, and when they get the hose barbs on, it goes over to get water tested. We water test everything at 20 psi's, check for leaks, and then it comes back into welding and gets the side plates put on, and that's your finished product. The next time you come out to a GNCC race, stop by the FPS booth and check our radiators out and see what we got for you.
You know, ironically, I stopped and was chit-chatting with Mike Adams earlier today, and I had a chance to stop by and just check things out a couple of different times, but it's the first time I've really had a chance to talk with him, and knowing the R&D and the research and everything that goes into these radiators, I was pretty impressed. And not only that, but I think most impressive is how tough these are, and how most of the guys out there, they almost demand to have these types of radiators on their machines, and the only way that they don't demand it is if they're required by contract from a factory sponsorship, maybe not to let them run other products or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, you know, obviously keeping your machine cool is, in this type of racing, as much as the radiators get blocked up and the abuse and the beating that they take in the rough tumble world of GNCC racing, you know, you definitely want to make sure you have the best available to you across the board, all products.
An hour and 31 minutes now into this race. Josh Strang continues to lead. Grant Baylor is second. Corey Buttrick in the number 3 spot. The highlight of the weekend, I think, there, and the feel-good story of 2015, quite possibly as well, because, again, you know, talking about all that. Uh-oh. Oh, no. All right, we're getting an update about Thad Duvall right now. They found him out near the 7-mile marker, Johnny. The only report that we're understanding or getting is a report of a fuel line problem. I don't know necessarily what that could mean, whether he's just got a fuel line that broke and he's going to need to get a new one. They're trying to get a new one to him, or if there's even more than that is wrong. But if it's that seems to be a simple fix, but when you're that far out in the woods, it can be a while to get it fixed too.
Yeah, they're saying that Thad Duvall has his fuel line off somewhere around the 7-mile marker. So with it being off, that could mean a number of things. It could mean a lot of things, but I believe we may have an update actually from the pits with Matt Watson. Matt, if you can hear us, go ahead with that update.
Hey guys, we're down here with Thad Duvall's dad, Chad, and his mechanic, GQ. Hey guys, we just got the word now, had the fuel line off at the mile marker 7 now. With the rules being, it can't be towed and this and that, what's the decision? What are we going to do here?
I don't know, we're just kind of still deciphering out what we're going to do here. If we ain't got the top 20, it really ain't sense pushing the body and getting hurt and try to salvage out Indiana. So we're going to sit here and talk about it for a minute, and we'll figure out what we're going to do.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, a lot of things come into play today, huh, boss?
Oh, yeah, bittersweet. You know what I mean? Had a top of the high last weekend and then bottom of the low here this weekend.
Right on. Hey, GQ, with no more information than we have, fuel line could be a million things, huh?
Yeah, if we decide we're going to go fix it, I'm just going to grab a whole tank and just head that direction. You know, that's all we can do at this point. We just got to see what we can do.
Hey, no less than 110% out of you guys, that's for sure. So there you guys have it. Back to you, Rodney.
All right, Chad and GQ. DQ. Yeah, DQ.
DQ, David Quillen, you know, he's...
Well, I think that's an upgrade nickname.
GQ's going to stick with him. GQ, that's your new nickname, buddy.
But, yeah, man, David Quillen heading out now. It sounds like he's even grabbing a tank and heading out that far. So there's really no certain idea of exactly what is going on. But, I mean, you got to question, why would you have a fuel line off? I mean, there's only one reason that you would think that you would take a fuel line off, is if you thought that it wasn't getting fuel, and that would be one of the troubleshooting issues or steps that you would take, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if they're... Now, all these machines these days, or at least the four-strokes, are fuel injected.
Right.
So with the fuel pump is actually inside the tank on those Huskies. So the fact that if he's got the fuel line off, perhaps it's a fuel pump issue, perhaps it's a fuel filter issue, perhaps if it's something with inside the tank and they can swap the tank and make that machine run. And as Bad Chad himself alluded to, and we see the mechanic here for Josh Strang trying to let these guys know, hey, Josh Strang's coming up. And there is exactly why he was trying to let them know, hey, Josh Strang's coming in hot behind you. And that guy tried his best to get out of the way. Unfortunately, he did not realize what the mechanics were signaling there. Big Joe was trying to convey the message, and it got lost in translation and ended up with that guy upside down in the rocks.
Yeah, I think it kind of broke that guy's focus, man. So he could say, if it hadn't been for that dude, I'd have never fell, and made the highlights reel of GNCC Live.
Yeah, well, you know, it's cool to be on TV. Looks like he was all right. I'm sure he's up and rolling already, and he is. He's out of there, and he's gone. So now we'll be waiting on the number 2 ride, which last we had seen was Grant Baylor, and hot on his 6 was none other than Corey Buttrick, and here is Baylor. Now, Baylor does not have a clean run through this rock section. There's quite a few riders in this section. Baylor struggling a little bit with trying to work his way through, get around these guys.
Well, I wasn't real sure, I think, where the lap rider was going to be honest with you, Johnny.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, when you're behind those guys, there's really only one good line through those rocks. You don't want to have to go out into the bigger boulders. So Grant Baylor didn't get a time I had intended to, and wasn't quite quick enough on my stopwatch. So we'll have to see exactly what that is, perhaps at the mud hole at the 11-mile marker in just 5 more miles. It looks like Corey Buttrick has lost a bit of time, so we'll wait and see. Corey Buttrick still running in that 3rd place spot when we last saw. Jordan Ashburn and Chris Bach, though, did seem to be closing the gap a little bit. But again, and it is still Corey Buttrick, so 3rd place, and we see the, and there is Jordan Ashburn just behind him. So Buttrick still in 3rd, but now he's got a little bit of heat coming from behind with Ashburn.
Well, a little tough break there for Corey Buttrick, but again, a good hour and a half solid in a top 3 battle, and who's to say he's out of it yet? Just because these guys have caught him don't mean it's not going to fire him up, give him that incentive to push, because a lot of things can still happen over the course of the next hour and 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the next rider we'll be looking for is Ryan Sipes. He was 1 minute and 1 second behind Chris Bach when we last saw him. Very feasible to think that with the way he was riding early in this race, you know, we could see him get back up in there into that podium battle, which right now is between Corey Buttrick, Jordan Ashburn, and Chris Bach. Those 3 guys are nose to tail, wheel to wheel, and going at it. But Ryan Sipes is the man on the move.
Well, it sounds like we've got an update coming in from Megawatt. And what's going on, Megawatt?
Hey guys, we're down here in the Pro Pits. We've got Lane Michael with us. Now, of course, Lane's been out with an injury here. A lot of people don't know exactly what's been happening. Lane, let us know what's going on with your status and what's happened in the last few weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Over in Slovakia, over at 6 days, I ended up having a pretty good little wreck and ended up breaking my wrist. And, you know, I broke places and dislocated it. And at the time, you know, over there, you know, I thought, you know, 5-6 weeks, you know, we'll be back racing. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And as soon as I got home, I went and seen an orthopedic doctor, and I ended up having surgery pretty quick. I think it was the same week I got home. And yeah, just been healing up ever since. I ended up having to get 3 pins and a screw, and you know, we're just dealing with it. We've been using the time to, you know, let everything else heal, and try to get stuff in the works for next year and see where I'm going to end up. But yeah, everything's going good. I ended up having my external pin pulled on Friday, and then I have another 4 weeks, and then I have another little surgery to remove the other 2, and then start physical therapy and get back on the bike as soon as possible. So yeah, we're just hanging out. This race isn't too far away, so I figured I'd come at least check one more out for the end of the year.
Well, I tell you, man, it's great to see you. I've watched your entire career, and since you were a mini rider, I've only seen you hurt twice. This is your first serious injury, and man, you're handling it like a man, no question about it. And looking forward to 2016 and getting you back out here.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely looking forward to 2016. Hopefully we're going to change it up a little bit, and I'm just going to get healthy, get in better shape than I've ever been, and come back for next year. So I'm excited.
Awesome. So are we. Hey, back to you guys in the studio, Rodney.
All right, thanks a lot, Megawatt. Bad news for Lane Michael, but at the same time, some good news on the horizon, quite possibly. An hour and 39 minutes into this race, Ryan Sipes somewhere in the neighborhood of about a minute.
Oh, and there we do see Thad Duvall. He is hooked to one of those track crew machines being towed, which means his day is in fact done here at Powerline Park. It's such a bummer for Thad, winning that last race. Like you said, the highs and the lows of GNCC racing. It really is unfortunate, but Thad's a career guy. He understands that this is part of racing. He's matured so much this year. Took over second in the points. Obviously, barring something crazy, he's going to give that spot back up today, most likely to, I believe, Grant Baylor, who is the rider who was in second place in the points. So it really is unfortunate, but again, I'm sure he'll be back and with a vengeance, said Ironman, with the point to prove.
Well, Ryan Sipes was running somewhere in the neighborhood of about a minute behind Chris Bach, outside the top 5 there in that XC1 Pro class when we checked in with him there at the 6-mile marker. Right now it is Josh Strang, Grant Baylor, and Corey Buttrick running 1, 2, and 3. We'll be back with GNCC Live right after this.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pulls per side. Durability in the toughest conditions. Scott's Performance, the only steering dampener with 21 Baja 1000 overall victories, introduces the new Scott's rubber submount. Easy to install at less than an hour in most cases, it features adjustable on-the-fly dampening to help reduce arm pump and fatigue. Come see what 25 years of experience building the best stabilizer can do at scottsonline.com.
And welcome back to GNCC Live from St. Clairsville, Ohio. Rodney Tomlin, Johnny Gallagher, Megawatt, Matt Watson. It's Motorcycle Sunday here. Lap number 4 is what we're working on. An hour and 42 minutes into this race. We're watching live coverage of the world-famous Powerline mud hole. We've seen some interesting and exciting things take place there, and I'm sure we'll be in the market for a few more interesting and exciting things before the day is all said and done. But it almost, Johnny, looks like maybe the crowd is starting to thin out a little bit down there.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys have they've been here all morning. They were here for the 10 a.m. race. A lot of these same spectators, same mud fleas, were also here all day yesterday. So, the mud fleas, there's only so much wet and mud you can take, and the spectators, there's only so many Coors Lights you can drink. So at some point, they've got to work their way back up on top of the mountain here and check out some other racing action. Plus, at this point, I think what's happened is a lot of the riders have figured out, all the riders have made at least 2 or 3 laps. And, obviously the pros working on finishing, XC1 riders and XC2 riders working on finishing lap 4, which means that they know who's going to jump and who's not. And while you may possibly see some miscues, you're not going to see the kind of excitement, I guess we'll call it, that we saw in the early laps. And that's what those people are down there for.
Exactly.
So it's, as you pointed out, it was Josh Strang out front, Grant Baylor in second. Corey Buttrick still holding on to that third-place spot, but Jordan Ashburn has closed things up right onto his rear wheel. And Chris Bach there close also in 5th. We go back to 6th overall as our XC2 leader, Jason Thomas. 7th place overall is Ricky Russell. 8th place overall is Ryan Sipes, making him 6th in the XC1 class. And again, interesting point to note, Ryan Sipes has been in and made a rear wheel change, so he gave up somewhere in the neighborhood of what we can tell to be 2 minutes, but is yet still up inside the top 10 overall solidly in 8th. And I expect to see him climb the boards throughout the remainder of this, what appears to be roughly an hour and 20 minutes of racing left to go.
Yeah, I was talking with Sipes earlier today too. He was coming off that high last time we saw him with the win over at ISDE, and he said, when I got back from Slovakia, it was just a murderous pace. We went to the ISDE, I came back. He said I had several races like week after week after week that I was doing right in a row. He said last week I had off, and he said it was a weekend that I certainly needed. And he got rested up there last week. Said he took a couple of rides on the bike there last week just to stay fresh and in tune with that. But all in all, he said he spent the biggest part of the last couple of weeks resting up from all the things that have been taking place over the course of the last couple of months for him.
Yeah, and like you said, at some point that stuff starts to stack up on top of itself. And I did notice that Sipes had been campaigning a few of the National Enduros, and last weekend, although there was a National Enduro, he elected or was instructed not to do so. So I think at that point it was like you said, he just needed to recharge the battery, spend some time at home with the family, and do exactly what he needed to do to come out here swinging, which man did he today.
Yes.
He came out swinging, he grabbed that early lead, started to gap Josh Strang a little bit, and then obviously with that rear wheel coming apart, it set him back. So now the story's going to be how much damage control can Ryan Sipes do today. Obviously he's got the points to think about. He's still running inside, I believe, the top 5 overall in our overall points. We'll pull that up and take a look at it here. But I believe, like I said, I think he's battling somewhere around that number 4 or 5 for the overall season finish at the end of the year. And a lot of those guys are tight with Thad Duvall obviously having issues today. That's really going to tighten that things up all the way back from the 2nd place spot back through about 5th or 6th. You've got Josh Strang. You've got all those guys there battling. And I think we've got an update coming in from the VP Fuels Pro Row with Matt Watson. I think he's got a word with Thad Duvall, and we can find out exactly what was going on out there.
Hey, guys, down here in Thad Duvall's pits. Hey, Thad, just saw you bring it in here. Now, we talked about a fuel line. Give us a little bit of an idea of what happened out there, man.
I'm not sure. I just was going, and I made a bonehead mistake the first lap, and then guys got away from me. But I felt really, really good today. I was really enjoying the track. It was rough, and it was kind of single track stuff, so I felt like I was be good. I think I was running Strang down a little bit, and the next thing I know, my bike just started shutting off, and I looked down, there was gas everywhere, and then it broke the plastic piece off the bottom of the injector, so I'm not sure if, I don't remember catching a stick or nothing. I'm not sure if it just where it was cold or where water was hitting it made it fragile or what. I'm not sure, but it's pretty disappointing. I felt like I had it in me today to do well and be on the podium, and I felt like I could have went out and gave Strang a run for his money, but it's racing, it happens, so just throw it behind us and go to Indiana and try to win. And I think probably today I'm out of the number 2 plate, but I just go out and try to win Indiana now.
On, man, good luck. We know you'll be back at 110%. There you have it from the source, Rodney. Back to you, bud.
All right, thanks a lot, Megawatt. Thank you, Thad Duvall. Tough break there for bad Thad. Bad luck. We just saw Josh Strang going by there a few moments ago. Here comes 2nd place now. Grant Baylor still holding steady there as he heads over the mud hole jump there now. No problems for him as he will traverse this mud hole quite easily as we wait for the now 3rd place ride. An hour and 48 minutes into this race. Should be seeing the 121 of Corey Buttrick. Actually, did we not see Jordan Ashburn in the number 3 spot with Corey Buttrick right behind him at the 6-mile marker? That was not the case? Okay.
No, Corey Buttrick was still in 3rd, but Jordan Ashburn was all over him.
Okay.
So those guys were nose to tail, and I expect that they'll be even closer when we see him next. and Chris Bach was also right on the rear wheel of Ashburn. So it was actually 3 riders, and it is in fact Jordan Ashburn now who is in the 3rd place spot, Chris Bach in 4th. So this is now your new podium battle. Hopefully Corey Buttrick, or potentially Corey Buttrick, still on this battle here. So Ashburn over the mud jump, Bach over the mud jump. So there is now your new 3rd and 4th place riders, and Corey Buttrick right behind him there. So he's hanging tough. He's back to 5th, but that's still a phenomenal ride. And he's still right there with those guys. One mistake or a little bit of a charge from Corey B, and he's right back up on that podium.
Can you imagine the cheers that he gets around this racetrack? That's got to be inspiring for him to go faster and to keep pushing right now. And again, like I said, regardless of what happens from this point on, Johnny, we've seen a major accomplishment in the program of Corey Buttrick, and we may be recognizing the future to be actually a lot brighter for this young man. We can only hope that the next race at Ironman continues to go as well. The off-season, the training, the changes that he's got on the horizon all fit in his favor.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Corey, I believe, is looking for a ride for next year. I've heard the rumor mill, the silly season rumor mill, that you know, he's been linked to a couple of different teams next year. Don't know that anything is in fact confirmed, but it'll be interesting to see how that does work out. We should be seeing Jason Thomas, our XC1 leader, and also Ryan Sipes, who would be 6th place in our XC1 class. So those two, when we last saw them, were right together. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't at all be surprised to see Jason Thomas move over, let Ryan Sipes go by and latch onto the rear wheel to not only extend his lead in the XC2 class, but also to try and hitch a ride with Sipes into potentially a podium position for the day, because he's not at all far out of it. I think when we had last looked, he was 6th place overall, but only a few seconds off the podium.
Josh Strange checking in now for 4 laps complete. We got the 2-lap board coming out on this one now, so that means that we should be looking at, what is that, a 6-lap race, I guess, now. So 6-lap race as anticipated, an hour and 50 minutes into this. So we'll be right around that 2:45 mark, I think, with lap times in the 28.5 to 29-minute range there. We'll be right around the 2:45 mark, and that's right where we need to be as Josh Strang in for his 2nd pit stop, as anticipated. After 2, we've seen him pit. After 4, we expect this pit, and that should carry him on to the checker flag. There is the 3:14, the Pro Yamaha ride of Grant Baylor checking in now in the number 2 spot, 44 seconds down. It was 13 seconds back to Corey Buttrick, as we see the hard-charging young Grant Baylor now pushing through the pro pits and ready to work his way past the, that was the auxiliary pro pits. That was the pro pits. Here's Jordan Ashburn, your 3rd place ride coming in now.
I don't know bike guys, I only know quad guys.
So Ashburn looking pretty solid right now in that number 3 spot. Don't see a lot of company coming in. We do know that Chris Bach is back there. We do know also that at last check, Corey Buttrick wasn't far off pace either. But that is Jordan Ashburn taking over 3rd. Lap time 28:37 for Josh Strang, at 28:49 for Grant Baylor, and a 28:53 for Jordan Ashburn. Still with a solid 3rd place ride. Nearly identical lap times. Chris Bach's only 0.2 of a second slower, but running about 3 seconds off pace. Corey Buttrick does check in the number 5 spot, 4.5 seconds off pace. He dropped his lap time to a 29:37. So rightfully and understandably, we are seeing that happen for Corey Buttrick. But again, we know that and have noted he is still working his way back up through the ranks and into contention. So those early spurts that we've seen, good indications of what the future may hold. Well, whenever we're sitting here at the finish line, you know, you got to wonder, we keep talking about, there's Thomas and Sipes. That's exactly the riders we were looking for. Look at those plumes of dust starting to kick up now as they work their way through some of that lap traffic, and it looks like that Sipes still trying to get around Thomas. Thomas is not wanting to relinquish that position physically on the racetrack to Ryan Sipes. So the theory, Johnny Gallagher, that you had that he would let him go by and just latch on to the rear wheel is not coming to pass, at least at the moment. It is, and Sipes, oh man, look at that. Sipes threads that needle coming right into the finish line. He's like, wow. So I mean,
that was really surprising. You know, Jason Thomas was all over that track blocking Ryan Sipes through that grass track. But in his defense, Ricky Russell is on his rear wheels. So second place in XC2 has closed up that gap huge. So Ricky Russell really on the gas here. And there's no way of Jason Thomas knowing, you know, he's got a 4-stroke behind him revving at him. He must have assumed it was Ricky Russell.
It's highly likely and quite possible. There's no doubt about it. And I tell you, Ryan Sipes really picking and choosing probably the very last opportunity he would have to get around Jason Thomas for quite some time whenever they came into that finish line. So he threaded that needle coming out of that final turn and just barely squeaked by. And Thomas, I think at that point, realized that it was Ryan Sipes and kind of backed off a little bit and let him go on by. Well, with that, it is Josh Strang, Grant Baylor, Jordan Ashburn, Chris Bach, and Corey Buttrich are top 5, but it's looks like Ryan Sipes battling with Jason Thomas for that 6th place overall position right now, and a lot of things still to come here at the ITP Powerline Park GNCC. Stick around. We'll be back with more GNCC Live right after this.
Any engine, any season. At home, at the track, or on the trail. AMSOIL for any engine.
Scott's Performance, the only steering dampener with 21 Baja 1000 overall victories, introduces the new Scott's Rubber Submount. Easy to install, at less than an hour in most cases, it features adjustable on-the-fly dampening to help reduce arm pump and fatigue. Come see what 25 years of experience building the best stabilizer can do at scottsonline.com. The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
This RacerTV live broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. By Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. By Maxxis Tires, find your flow. And powered by Yamaha Generators.
Welcome back to St. Clairsville, Ohio, and the ITP Powerline Park GNCC. Here from Powerline Park, as you can see, why? Because of all the power lines, a lot of them, no doubt, and a lot of great terrain here at this Powerline Park. A lot of diverse and exciting terrain for our racers here at the GNCC, as well as off-roading enthusiasts in 4x4 Jeeps and side-by-sides and things like that. Right now, though, at an hour and 57 minutes, I know it's a little past the halfway point, but we wanted to establish a good look at what was going on after the 3 laps of racing in all of our classes. And with that, we take a look at our Mid-State Chevy Midway Report, brought to you by Mid-State Chevrolet, located off the Flatwood exits in I-79 in the heart of West Virginia there. They stack them deep, they sell them cheap. Oh no, Nick Davis now getting towed back to the pits. That's some more bad news. We did wonder, though, what happened to that XC2 rider who was battling for the lead with Jason Thomas there. So now we see he, too, has some sort of an issue. I'll try to get an update on that and let you know what's going on. Be sure and like our good friends at Mid-State Chevy on Facebook and tell them thanks for being a part of the GNCC Racing Nation. As we take a look at the overall, it is Strang, Baylor, Ashburn, Bach, and Buttrick, your top 5. Then Jason Thomas scores in at 6th place. This is after 4 for these guys. 6th place overall. Then we got Ricky Russell in 7th. He's 2nd in the XC2 Pro Lights. Ryan Sipes is 8th overall, which makes him 6th in class. Austin Lee, 3rd in XC2 Pro Lights, is 9th overall. Tegan Temple rounds out your top 10. He is 4th in XC2 Pro Lights and only 6 seconds behind Austin Lee, turning a 23-second faster lap. So we may see it even another change in the XC2 Pro Lights by the end of lap number 5. Taking a look at the Pro class itself, we know that we got those top 5 through there with Strang, Baylor, Ashburn, Bach, and Buttrick. Sipes in 6th. Takeshi Koikata, the former JNCC, the Japanese cross-country champion in his final races of 2015 here in the United States. Takashi running in 7th. Chris Douglas, the Obermeyer Suzuki rider, is riding in 8th. Adam Benor is in 9th place aboard the 25, and Nick Farringer is rounding out the top 10, one of the top Husqvarna riders there as well. Jason Thomas leading the XC2 Pro Lights with Ricky Russell running 2nd. He's just ahead, well, about 2 minutes, 13 seconds ahead of Austin Lee, who's just ahead of Tegan Temple. We told you 23 seconds faster on that lap that he took there a few moments ago. Jesse Grome running back in the number 5 position. It is Scotty Grills in the number 6 spot. 7th place, Mike Witkowski aboard the number 282. Then you got Ryder Lafferty, the 336 out of Millville, New Jersey. I think he is the nephew to Michael Lafferty, former GNCC great there. He is running in 8th place in the XC2 Pro Lights class. 9th place, Benjamin Kelly, the number 408. And Colin May, the 918, rounds out the top 10 in the XC2 Pro Lights. Now we go to the Open A. Zach Hayes, Luke Parsons running 1 and 2, 33 seconds separating those two in the Open A class, with Dual Murphy, the 364 in the number 3 spot. 4th place, Andrew Boggs aboard the number 905. 5th place, 367 of Luke Ross. Open A 6th place, then Dylan Rash. 7th place being Cody Jeffers, the 628. 8th spot is Tyler Soriano, the 397. 9th place, the 59 of Nathan Thornhill. And the 122 of Nathan Zicklow rounds out your top 10 in the Open A. Moving to the 250A, Vance Francis from Bonnyman, Kentucky. The 330 out front of Mason Atherton now by 59 seconds. The number 50 machine is Atherton with Mark Horesco, the 412, another 28.3 seconds back in 3rd. Thorne Devlin, the 824, is 4th. Sean Benhart, the 415, in 5th. In 6th place, Ryan Slopko. He's the 215 machine. 7th place, the 385 of Eric Douglas. 8th place, 48 of Vincent Smith. 9th spot, the 747 of Hunter Neuwirth. And rounding out the top 10, JoJo Bowden, the number 444. That's your 250A. As we look next at the 200A, we got Ryan Eccles out front of Zach Ferentz there. John Hugel in the number 3 spot. Logan Kiddick, who got the whole shot in the class, is running 4th now with Cole Maston, the 166, rounding out your top 5 in the 200A class. In the 4-stroke A lights class, Braxton McGee, he's riding the 45 from Bolton, North Carolina. He's got a 3.4 second lead over the 100 of Josh Lee. Lee turned a 31.20, Braxton McGee a 31.06, so it looks like McGee just got around Josh Lee there as they were coming into the finish for the 4-stroke A lights class. Like Leonard running in the number 3 spot. He is checked in now 18 seconds behind Josh Lee. Tristan Landon, we're expecting him in 4th aboard the 704. Brady Myers in 5th. Tyler Braniff in 6th. Hunter Shelton 7th. Paul Petron in 8th. 9th place Andrew France rounding out the top 10. Chris McManus. 4-stroke A lights to the junior AB 25 plus class now, where Aaron Coxon, a 56-second lead over the 44 of Joseph McCarty. Then Adam Bunting, the 376, running in the number 3 position with 4th place, the 422 of Adam Clark. And Eric Breitmeyer is your 5th place ride aboard the 718. And by the way, McCarty's got a 4-minute, 41-second lead over 3rd place there of Adam Bunting. So looks like Coxon and McCarty really stretching things out over the rest of the field in the junior AB class. The vet A class, Joe Marsh out of Pittsburgh, PA. Only 13-second lead, just under 13-second lead over Nathan Alring, the 383. Albert DeMott, the 156, is 3rd. Mark McGrath, the 416, in 4th. Fabian Barada, the 533, is 5th. Then in 6th, it is Big Jim Steiner, the 86, We got Joe Kessler in 7th. Kirk Allen, the 526, is 8th. Eddie Lojak Jr., the 310 in 9th. And Jesse Arsenal rounding out the top 10. Eddie Lojak Jr. in the Vet A class, by the way, is the son of a 9-time GNCC champ, Eddie Lojak Sr. Senior A 40-plus class, Billy Schlag, the 418 out of Mechanicsville, Maryland. A 5-minute, 23-second lead over Frank Tussle, the 89 in second. Edgar Davis, the 452, is third. Shannon Remington, the 47 in fourth, with Harry Englehart rounding out the top 5. Then is David Van Kuren and Brett Torchilla in 6th and 7th. Open B class, Jared Sabo leading. Zach Perry now, 33-second difference there with Dustin Stanley in the number 3 spot. 4th place, Jared Schmidt, aboard the 163. Cole Shiflett, the 369, rounds out your top 5. Roman Phipps, the 229 in 6th. It's Chris Bartone, the 575 in 7th. 8th place, 519, Ryan McManus. James Harshberger, the 617, is 9th. And Bill Zavindi rounds out your top 10. 250B class now, the 225 of Mike Miller out of Fairmont, West Virginia. A 1-minute, 43-second lead over the 402 of Brian Klementowski. Then back in the number 3 spot, the 614 of Brewer Carley. 4th place, the 417 Connor Keegan, rounding out the top 5, the 458 of Coleman Brinson. 6th place, 521 Kobe Becker. Then 7th place, the 321 of Will Hart. 8th place, Justin Murphy aboard the 484. 9th place, the 657 of Thad Workman. And it's Joe Worry, the 372, rounding out the top 10 there in the 250B class. 2 hours and 5 minutes into it now. 3 laps down for the 200B class, due in about 17 minutes. Cameron Sisk, the 240, has a 3-minute and 5-second lead over Colton Cup, the 869. Caleb Williams, the 540, is 3rd place. Theo Lepler, 362 in 4th. In 5th, 371 of Adam Parker. 6th place, 382, RJ Mergerwin. 7th spot, 404, Randy Smith, the 200B class. Up next, 4-stroke B lights. Buttrick has gotten around Chris Bach to regain the 4th place position as we check back in with our leaders out here at the 6-mile marker. We've seen Josh Strang go through. We've seen Grant Baylor go through. We've also seen our 3rd place ride of Jordan Ashburn. Was expecting to see Chris Bach and then Corey Buttrick, but now Buttrick is checked in 4th place, and I believe that is Bach back in the number 5 spot that we'll be seeing check in through that 6-mile marker as well. So now to the 4-stroke B lights class as we wrap up the Mid-State Chevy Midway Report. Adam Hollenkamp and Alex Ankrum, 1 and 2, 11 seconds and all that separate those two. And it looks like that maybe Hollenkamp may have just gotten around Ankrum, so that's going to be an interesting battle to the end between those two. Brendan Poling, the 326 in 3rd. Josh Farrell, the 4th place ride aboard the 474, 517. Drew Bolton in 5th. Austin Evans, 711 in 6th. Bolton B. Roth, 258 is 7th, and 8th spot is Adam Lewis, the 374. 9th place, Michael Tetlow, and 10th place, Logan Henderson, the 821. And it's the Bet B 30-plus class we look at next. Jeremy Dexter, a 32-second lead over Scott Dallin. Dallin ahead of Chris Levin. 3 minutes and 10 seconds back in the number 3 spot with Sean Morris in 4th. James Wilson, the 354, rounds out the top 10. Wesley Lance in 6th. 7th is Jerry Costello. 8th spot, Larry Hopper. 9th spot, Jason Mead. And Jeremy Wagenschwantz rounds out your top 10 on the 381 machine. Senior B 40-plus class, Carl Cumpston, the 750 out of Morgantown, West Virginia. A 2-minute 40-second lead over the 373 of Gene Swidwa. Back at the number 3 spot, the 401, Mark Proper with Devin Ferguson, the 231 in 4th. Michael Beckett, the 456, is 5th. Will Gribbon, the 744, runs in 6th. 7th, the 424 of Thomas Kunick. 8th place to be the 410 of Mark Adkins. 9th spot, the 651 of Leon Whittaker. And rounding out the top 10, 384, Steve Leggett. And that's your Senior B 40-plus class. Your Senior B 40-plus class. And that is your Mid-State Chevy Midway Report. Be sure and like them on Facebook. Check them out on the World Wide Web at midstatechevy.com. They are your next home, or your home for your next new car, truck, or van. midstatechevy.com on the World Wide Web. Yes, very solid. Thank you very much, Jason Hooper, as Yes, and as we watch this one again, making note, the 6 mile marker sees Corey Buttrick back up in the number 4 spot, and if I can get an update from the producers, I didn't quite catch exactly how far behind. Was that Bach not far off the pace of Buttrick, or did he open that gap up just a little bit? So I'm thinking there might have been a little bit of a gap there, but regardless, we'll know more coming up here shortly. We'll catch up with them again at the 11 mile marker, as leaders will be due in for the completion of lap number 5 here at, well, in about, they should be about halfway through, in about 9 minutes and 49 seconds, just under 10 minutes. Against Strang, Baylor, Ashburn, Buttrick around Bach, now up for the 4th place position. And another battle we've been keeping an eye on is in the XC2 Pro Lights class, where it was only 3 seconds that separated Ricky Russell and Jason Thomas, 2.9 seconds to be more specific. And that's another battle we keep an eye on. Johnny Gallagher, I know you're running pit boards there for Chris Bach today. Any idea what might happen there to get Corey Buttrick up into the number 4 spot?
Yeah, actually, as we watched him come through there, Corey Buttrick, I'm not exactly sure where he got around Bach, but he was about 50 seconds, about 20 seconds behind Ashburn, who was about 50 seconds behind Baylor. But the big change was Grant Baylor was only 12 seconds behind Josh Strang.
Really? I did not quite catch that gap had closed up that much. So
well, it was when I saw him just over on the other side of the property. So
and if you think about it, it's right on time and right on schedule for Grant Baylor to be making the push as we head into that 3rd and final hour. So right when we expected Grant to make the strong push, he's doing exactly it about the time we anticipated.
And the other thing that I saw over there, and I don't know if you guys saw on screen here at the 6 mile marker, was Ricky Russell was around Jason Thomas and had taken over the lead in XC2.
Oh, no.
And they were both still all over the rear wheel of Ryan Sipes.
Okay.
And between the rev limiter of Ryan Sipes revving at lappers, the rev limiter of Ricky Russell revving at Ryan Sipes to please let him by, and Jason Thomas, the panic rev of the 2-stroke, boy, it sounded like an orchestra of anger running through the woods. I mean, those guys were just absolutely holding the throttle wide open in the pull and the clutch in. Another thing that I don't know if you got an update on while I'm gone, so if I'm repeating things, I apologize. I did see Nick Davis being towed in on the road coming the other way.
We saw that,
and he said he was pretty certain that he had cracked the piston. So an unfortunate failure for Nick Davis today, and, you know, that guy just can't catch a break sometimes.
Yep, and I think that's pretty much been the whole season for him, though he is early on in contention, then the mid-season problems, and just to see him come back and do so well. It is a heartbreaker for him, but, you know, it's still a lot of good signs for what's coming up in 2016, and I think that's, you know, a good thing for him to start looking forward to. And you know, something that we look back to is what took place earlier today. And again, we saw some pretty great things unfolding with youth motorcycle racing in that 10 o'clock race as well, the 8 o'clock and the 10 o'clock race. But had a chance to catch up with our 8 o'clock and youth race winner earlier today. And Megawatt, these guys certainly have big smiles on their face, there's no doubt.
Good morning, Racer TV fans, and we're here with our first winner of the day, Super Mini 14 to 15, and overall youth winner Jesse Ansley. Jesse, a bit frigid out here this morning, man. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's definitely cold. We woke up and it's about 28, 30 degrees, and back home in Florida, it's been 75, 80, and that's pretty chilly for us. And coming up here, it's a great experience, you know, racing in the cold. But my team prepped me, you know, under gloves. I got everything underneath to keep me warm while I'm riding, but the course was good. It was slick, hard packed. I've never been to this piece of property. Every time we do this series, I don't have the opportunity to come here, but this year we made it, and it was a good track. I like it.
Yeah, they put a lot of time in on the track last night to make some adjustments for you guys, and I have heard nothing but great reviews about it. Now, you didn't get the early lead this morning, huh? Had to come from behind a little bit.
No, when I kickstarted my bike, I was too anxious, and I just dumped the clutch, and it bogged a little bit, and so I was about third or fourth out the start, and by the second turn, I got behind Chase Hayes, and we just ran together for the first lap, and then I was just testing out the track, and second lap I passed him for the lead, and then Hank Hayes was on my rear end, so I made a little mistake and let him by. We kind of rode together for a little bit, and he got entangled in the lapper, and and I just passed him and put my head down and just charged as hard as I could. And then about 2 laps to go, I saw Connor right on top of this hill, and I nodded my head to my grandpa, and I put the hammer down. I was just a little bit out of control, but I still had that flow where I could push as hard as I could.
Well, it was an amazing performance here today, especially your first visit to this piece of property, and congratulations. We'll see you on the podium in just a few minutes.
Thank you.
Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thanks a lot, Megawatt. From earlier this morning, again, Jesse Ansley, and not as big a smile on your face as one may think, but I was laughing about that because he was pretty cold. That was a cold race this morning, Johnny Gallagher, but Jesse Ansley capping off another big win. Smiling on the inside, I'm quite sure. But one thing he's been smiling about lately, though, if you haven't heard, Jesse recently inked a deal with RPM KTM. He's got a 5-year contract that he signed straight out of the youth ranks, man. And number one, signing a contract out of the youth ranks may not be as big a deal, but I mean, it is a pretty big deal. We've heard it happen in the past, but how often do you see someone actually ink a deal for 5 years, especially this young in their career? That's an awful long contract, you would think.
You know, honestly, Rodney, I don't know that I've ever heard of anyone inking a 5-year deal with any company or any team ever in the history of ATV or motorcycle racing. I've heard of, 2-year deals. The longest deal I've ever heard of is a 3-year deal. So for them to sign him to a 5-year deal, that just really shows that they wanted to lock him down and keep him part of that RPM KTM team, which I believe they are based out of Florida, and he's obviously being a Florida native. So, for those guys to be able to do that and get that together, that really shows that they see him as the future of off-road and GNCC racing.
Yeah, that's commitment from both sides, if you think about it, because, I mean, Jesse's looking at it from a standpoint, he's locking himself into a situation for 5 years, and they're looking at it, and they're locking themselves into one rider for 5 years. And if both are feeling that strong about it, that must mean they're ready there to support each other and to push each other to new levels.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it, 5 years, even at our age, seems like a long time. But for Jesse Ansley, I believe he's. Oh, and here we see Josh Strang working his way through. And last we had seen Grant Baylor was not too far behind him. So Strang down that hill at 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 44 seconds. He lands off the creek jump. So we'll have to see exactly how far back it is to Grant Baylor. Has he been able to close the gap up, or has Josh Strang been able to stretch it back out? And looking right now, it looks like Strang has in fact been able to stretch that gap back out a little bit as to what I saw it over on the other, but not too much. Here's Baylor now. So at 44, looking like it's going to be right around 25 seconds, give or take, that 26 seconds that he is behind. So still a manageable gap for Strang to keep, but at the same time, Baylor's got to know that if he stays on the gas, there's a chance he could get up there and win this thing.
For sure, and wondering right now how far Corey Buttrick might be behind him, or excuse me, George Ashburn. Ashburn was nearly a minute, about 53 seconds. Then we'll be seeing how close or far behind Corey Buttrick is to Jordan Ashburn, who was, at last check, your third-place ride. Here at the 11-mile marker, almost 2 hours and 17 minutes into this race, we wait patiently once again, and this final hour begins to tell the tale of the tape, and the hard work these guys are putting in. Now, Johnny, temperatures again cooler today. We alluded to the fact that the XE1 Pro Class yesterday was just burning it up, burning the racetrack up. There we go. There is third place coming through Ashburn now as he touches down at the 08, 2:17.08. We'll see how far back.
He looks to be about a minute behind Grant Baylor, almost exactly to the second. Now, next we should be seeing either Corey Buttrick or Chris Bach. Those two were pretty well locked in a battle when I saw them last. And it looks like it's been about 20 seconds since Baylor came through. So we'll wait and we'll watch and see if it is in fact Corey Buttrick or Chris Bach that is in that fourth place spot. And it is Chris Bach. There he is coming down over the hill now. So he's into fourth. Looks like he's about almost 40 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn for that final podium spot.
So there you go. We see the changes taking place yet again here in lap number 5 at the Powerline Park GNCC, and don't be surprised if you see changes or more changes taking place here today.
Now we see Corey Buttrick in the 5th place spot. What we'll have to watch for is Ryan Sipes, who's really hard on the gas when I saw him last. So it's possible that he may close up that gap on Corey Buttrick, possibly, and try and wrestle that 5th place spot away from him. So 2:18.21 when Corey Buttrick came through there. Josh Strang out on the grass track and blowing up that dust berm. I believe he's gotten the word that Grant Baylor's in hot pursuit.
Got to get those plumes up in the try to block the vision there of the 2nd place ride. But again, that's for a long time, 40 seconds for that dust to settle back down. But man, I tell you, some of the beauty that we've seen in the riding there, I think it's pretty neat the way those guys bust those dust berms like that. Could be a little dangerous for them. It could be a little dangerous for them, but nonetheless, they are making it look pretty out there, to say the least. About 2 hours and 19 minutes now into this race as our leaders are due in right now. There goes Josh Strang. He just went through, and he's now in the pit area. So I look down here, 28:37 lap time that time around for the number 2. And here comes the 3:14 machine, and 44-second gap now narrowed down to 27.6 seconds. 28-minute, 20-second lap time. So 17 seconds is what we see gained there by Grant Baylor over Josh Strang. Lap time, 17 seconds. And with that in mind, that's not enough here at the white flag. And the final lap, he would still come up short if he maintains that pace. The scenarios that we see developing here are, number 1, Josh Strang needs to keep up or extend his pace or push his pace a little bit harder. If Grant Baylor intends to hang with it and have a chance, he's really going to have to pick his pace up to reel him in. But here comes Jordan Ashburn. That is the teammate of the Infab Am Pro Yamaha ride of Grant Baylor. So it looks like we are in the market to see 2 of those Yamaha riders on the podium here today at Powerline Park as Ashburn takes the white flag. And now the 3rd place position after 5 laps of racing, 1 minute and 3 seconds behind Grant Baylor. That puts him in exact 2 minutes behind Josh Strang now from 1st to 3rd. And as we anticipate, no riders, it doesn't look like, going to be taking any pit stops today, or at least at this point in the race. We saw Strang do it after lap 4 complete, and we knew that that was going to be a case that he would be doing every 2 laps, and with it being a 6-lap race, it's going to work out perfectly in his favor. Chris Bach checks in now in the number 4 spot. He is 41 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn. Now we wait to see about the CB121 of Corey Buttrick. And then we'll be looking at adjusted times of Jason Thomas, Ricky Russell. And we also want to keep an eye on what's going on with Austin Lee and Tegan Temple back there for the number 3 spot in the XC2 Pro Lights class. And here comes Corey Buttrick, 29 seconds back, as we said, in 5th place. Chris Bach is 4th place. So 29 seconds. So that would put almost, like we said, 2.5 minutes between Corey Buttrick and 1st place. But you start looking at the grand scheme of things, he's still got a little ways to go to get up into a podium position finish as well. Looking at 29 and 41 seconds, so that's well over a minute, about 1 minute and 11 seconds out of a podium position finish right now. But I got to say, another impressive day and a good sign for Corey Buttrick and what the future could hold for him, because I think that we're going to see things only get better for him as time passes on here in GNCC racing. And glad to see him back out there making the waves as we've got more riders checking in, Jason Thomas being one of those. He is leading the XC2 Pro Lights. He is 5th place overall with a 29:06 lap time that time around for him.
And it looks like we've lost Ricky Russell. Ricky Russell was all over, and there he is right now, but he's lost a lot of time He was all over and, in fact, had passed Jason Thomas when we last saw him. And now here at the 12-mile marker, you see him taking a look over his shoulder. Not sure what happened, but he's lost well over a minute, possibly close to 2 by the time he checks in here. Not sure what happened. We'll get an update with Ricky. Obviously still great position to be in second place in that incredibly competitive XC2 class up on the podium. But Ricky wants wins, and he had himself in position to do just that. As he crosses the white flag, looks like he is... Ricky is, only 58 seconds behind, so it wasn't quite as long as we had thought he lost, but definitely, like we said, he was leading Thomas when we last saw him. So somewhere along the way, don't know if he went down, had a run-in with the lapper, but you would have to assume that to lose that much time, there must have been some kind of a miscue on the part of Russell.
Well, with that, Josh String leads Grant Baylor, Jordan Ashburn, Chris Bach, and Jason Thomas now in 5th place overall. On time adjustment, Corey Buttrick, 5th place in the pro class, and we got some action going on down in the pits, it looks like. What's going on?
Ricky Russell is was taking some kind of a, I don't know if it was it was tablets or pills. He came in and it looked like Lucas Statham dropped one of them on the ground there and then picked him back up. So don't know if those are possibly sugar pills or if he's in some pain and he's taking some Advil or whatever it is. But he definitely took something in a tablet or pill form and took a couple sips of water and gulped them down. So be interesting to see, maybe find out on the podium what that was all about.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Do we have something weird going on in GNCC? Is that his super juice that we just saw? No, I'm just playing. But be sure and stick around as we do have a lot of unanswered questions. Can Josh String hang on to this for the win? Will the young Grant Baylor come from behind to steal it all away? Stick around to find out. And welcome back to Powerline Park here in St. Clairsville, Ohio. It is round 12 of America's Premier Off-Road Racing Championship, the AMSOIL GNCC Series presented by Maxxis, an AMA National Championship, and the ITP Powerline Park GNCC rolling through 2 hours and 27 minutes. The final lap of racing underway right now, and according to timing and scoring, about 20 minutes out from seeing the checker flag fly. That'll be for, at least anticipating it to be for Josh String at this particular point. But Grant Baylor, hot on the move. 17-second faster lap time that last time around. The big deficit, though, 27 seconds is what he would have to make up in order to catch Josh String and then try and make the pass on him. Jordan Ashburn running back at the number 3 spot. Chris Bach is 4th, and Corey Buttrick 5th in class, but it's Jason Thomas 5th overall, who's leading the XC2 Pro Lights class. Well, we saw that we had a strong winner today from Jesse Ansley out of the youth class today, and we all know that we always have an exciting 10 o'clock race as well, and man, did we have another great and exciting 10 o'clock race as well today with the WXC class. A lot of things taking place out there, but whenever it was all said and done, it was a history-making day for one of Ohio's own. We're talking about the first win ever for Becca Sheets.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to RacerTV.com. We're here this morning with today's WXC winner, Becca Sheets. Becca, unbelievable performance out there today, taking the win in the WXC class, up there mixing it up for the overall. You were in contention for the overall this morning, but come out with a WXC win. You have to be pumped with that.
Yeah, this is my first WXC win. So I'm super excited, and we had an awesome battle going the first 2 laps. It was Jessica, Casey, and I, and we were all kind of going back and forth, and I knew the way I was riding that I was going to be able to come out front today, and it's pretty awesome.
Your lap times were so consistent, and you stayed right up there in the hunt all day. It's almost like you made no mistakes. Is that the way the ride felt?
Yeah, I rode pretty good, and I didn't make a whole lot of mistakes. I had one get-together with a lapper, but it didn't cost me too much time, and I just kept it up on 2 wheels the whole race, and I don't know, it was kind of a blur.
Well, congratulations on your first WXC win. It comes here today at the ITP Powerline Park GNCC.
Thanks.
Back to you guys.
Well, Johnny, I know you've got some personal interest vested in her. You guys are close and very good friends, and you spend a lot of time out on the racetrack on Sunday mornings chasing her around. And yeah, I said whenever it came on, she don't look real happy for her first win. You looked at me and said she was pretty emotional about that one. That was pretty special for her, and it came at a good time in her career, and it came at a good, probably the best place it could have come, right here in her home state, just an hour or two, a couple hours from her house.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, watching that feature, it may seem like it hadn't even sunk in yet, but I could tell if you know Becca, you could tell by looking in her eyes. She was tearing up, and a lot of us were. I mean, it's been a long road for her. Started off racing motocross, got hurt real bad, broke her back. She's got a lot of hardware in her back and been through surgeries. And, you know, we talked about Corey Buttrick, obviously kind of rising from the ashes here today. Well, you know, it's been a long rise for Becca the last several years. And like you said, she's a good friend of mine. Met her through Walker Fowler a few years ago and started helping her out. And to see her grab her first win today, to be honest, I felt like it was a long time coming, but to actually see it come to fruition was pretty special for sure. And, you know, she's worked really hard. Couldn't be more proud of her. And like you said, to do it in her home state with her family here and, you know, her boyfriend and everybody that's worked so hard to make this happen. You know, people at home maybe not realize it, but that WXC class, both on Saturday and Sunday, it's a professional class. They're women, but they work so hard. They train so hard. And like I said, was just super proud of her. It was awesome to see her finally get that win, and hopefully the first of many to come.
I agree with you, and though I'm not as personally invested in a friendship with her as what you are, I can say this: it is a good moment for me too. I've kind of studied and watched her. I've seen her come up short so many times, and I've seen the emotional side of that, the opposite end of that, where it was heartbreak, where she thought she had the win. And
here last year,
yeah,
you know, there's been a number of times in the last few years where it seemed like she had him in the bag. She had Indiana won a few years ago, lost a rear tire. It's just been one thing after another. But long story short, she got the win today. It was awesome for her, and like you said, couldn't have come at a better time. And what's coming at a good time for this guy right now is the checkered flag, because he's hard on the charge, but we know Grant Baylor still doing everything he can to try and close it down. Josh Strang out in the open field. He's going to take a look over his shoulder when he rounds this marker here, and you know he's going to take a look back and see if Grant is back there somewhere.
I don't think he did. I don't think he's worried about it. I think he's racing forward right now, and he's thinking about nothing but a second win here at the end of 2015, as we are still waiting for Grant Baylor, unless he was one of the riders that snuck by there just a moment ago. But Baylor, we kind of expect to be at least somewhere in the neighborhood of 27 seconds or closer. With the lap time, I would have anticipated somewhere more around the 20-second mark, but that is starting to open up. But again, we may have missed Baylor going through the section there a moment ago, but we'll know more here soon as a few more riders make their way down out
There's
of Woods.
Baylor
There
right
he is. So it is opened up even more. So Josh Strang had no reason to look back, Johnny Gallagher. Josh Strang is freight training straight ahead. He's on track to go right to the finish line and not slow down in any given point, I don't think, between here and there. We're at the 6-mile marker now. If we do a calculation, we expect probably about 14 or so minutes, 14 to 15 minutes for Josh Strang to be in and the checker flag to fly.
Yeah, and we see Grant Baylor did not have goggles on there. We'll see what the gap is back to Jordan Ashburn. It was 50 seconds when we had last seen him, I believe. Now we'll wait and we'll watch, and I don't believe Ashburn has come through, but I think that may be him, and it is. And I got Grant at the end of the rocks. We're at 40 seconds right now, so he's made up a little bit of time at 42 seconds, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough unless he can really put in a push these final few miles to be able to close that gap down on Grant Baylor.
Well, you got to wonder if even Baylor at this point is just settled into the fact that, okay, I've got a solid lead here in second. I'm going to take this. Or is Jordan Ashburn thinking the same thing at this point? It's a long race. I've got a minute to try to make up. I'm not doing so hot at that. Let's just salvage out the day with a third-place position podium, as he did have a buffer zone back to the fourth-place position. So I got to wonder if these guys have just maybe settled and realized, okay, this is where the chips are going to fall today, and I'm willing to accept that.
Yeah, and there we see our fourth-place rider, Chris Bach. He, again, is about the same gap that he was behind, about 40 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn. So it looks like our top 4 or 5 have settled in. The next gap to watch would be Corey Buttrick was about maybe 10, 15 seconds behind Bach when we saw him last. But it looked like Ryan Sipes was really on the charge, possibly going to try and close that gap up to get up to Buttrick and take over that 5th place spot. So we'll have to see. They should be working their way out into the open here just about any minute. And nope, that's not Buttrick there, but
somebody's
see the
coming.
pit board up for Corey Buttrick. Don't see Ryan Sipes behind him, but see a lot of urgency in Corey Buttrick's riding. I think he knows that Sipes is on the charge. And man, what a day for Corey Buttrick. You know, what people at home and a lot of people even here at the track, like we've talked about so many times, the blood, the sweat, the tears that you see him take a look over his shoulder. He says, man, they keep telling me he's coming. I don't see him yet. He's running like a scared rabbit right now. You know, and I don't mean that as an insult. I mean, he's running for all he's worth. You know, Ryan Sipes obviously having won ISDE, having nearly won GNCCs this year, consistently on the podium. Corey Buttrick knows he has world-class speed. Corey Buttrick has that speed, but just hasn't tapped into it in the last few years like he had in the past. And to see him do it here today, you know, 5th place out of however many hundreds of riders around the track right now, against, without a question of a doubt, no exceptions, the best riders in the world. The man that is chasing him down or trying to chase him down, Ryan Sipes, won the individual overall at ISDE, which is the biggest collection of studs on the face of the planet ever to ride motorcycles, and he won the overall, which means that, again, these are the best guys in the world, and Corey Buttrick is working his way back up to that top tier. And, you know, there may not be a big, huge cheering section, and there won't be a champagne bottle for him to pop, but I tell you right now, Corey Buttrick deserves to celebrate as much as Josh Strang or whoever ends up winning this race, because he's worked so hard to get back to where he is today.
I think we are witnessing today the birth of the next level of Corey Buttrick, the new life Corey, the birth right here today in Ohio. And I think it is so great that we, as a state, had the opportunity to witness this in these home soils like this, because this is a good foundation. It's, to me, a lot of good signs, a lot of good indications that this is something that's going to be the foothold for something to grow even more and more. As we got some good battles coming down through that section of the racetrack right there. I thought we might see some XC2 riders there, but that wasn't the case. And, you know, Johnny, talking about being in Ohio and Corey Buttrick being from Ohio and this being a good, firm foundation, some good signs and things like that of the growth of Corey. Another good sign is the fact that, you know, we heard from FPS, they're right from around here. We know that also Cometic Gaskets is another company that's from right around here in the great state of Ohio. And one of the original sponsors, the original sponsor of GNCC and off-road here. We're talking about Wiseco Performance Products. One name, one solution, no doubt about it. And the RacerTV crew caught up with the folks up there at the factory again.
Hello everybody, I'm Dave Selecki. I'm the Power Sports Product Line Manager here at Wiseco Performance Products. We're about 30 miles east of Cleveland here in Mentor, Ohio, and we're here to talk about Wiseco and tell you our story. All right, here at Wiseco, we manufacture all the pistons in-house. We start with the raw material. We actually forge the material, heat treat it, and do the final machining. And that's pistons for everything from motorcycles to ATVs to automotive applications, drag racers, you name it. We've touched it. As far as any form of racing, we supply a piston for. Made in USA, and something we call bar to box. We take the raw bar aluminum and it finishes up in a box as a piston for you to use in your engine. Remind you to come out to the racetrack and say hello at our booth, pick up some free decals and keychains, and also we do offer racer support. You go to racersupport@wiseco.com, you can send in your resume. We're accepting those now for the 2016 season, so that's a good opportunity to get some great product at a really, really good price. So thank you everybody for coming.
And that's Wiseco Performance Pistons. Those guys, as Rodney was saying, they were the original sponsor for GNCC Racing back when Dave and Rita Coombs had the idea for the 100-miler series, which evolved into the Grand National Cross Country Series you see today. The folks at Wiseco up in Mentor, Ohio, immediately, as soon as they heard about it, they jumped on board. They said, we want to be a part of this in a big way. And so many years later, they are still here. They still have a vending booth at every single race. They attend all the events, and they make some of the greatest pistons on the face of the planet, in my personal opinion. However, I guess I'm biased because they've been a long-time sponsor of mine as well. But again, so many companies here in this area of Ohio that have a strong presence in GNCC racing. One company that over the years has been synonymous with keeping your engine going strong, in addition to those Wiseco pistons, is Cometic Gaskets. Those guys also in Ohio, and we had a chance to catch up with them in their facility and see exactly what that company is all about.
This is Jeff Gorman from Cometic Gasket, and thanks for coming. We'll do a quick plant tour today. You know, we've been around since 1989. We started out in I think a 1,500-foot facility. We're up to about a 70,000 square foot facility now, and we'd love to show you around the place. We have about 80,000 active part numbers. This industry changes so fast. We just try to keep up with everything and come out with new technology as often as possible. We do all of our own R&D in-house. We have test labs, we have engine dynos. We work closely with our material suppliers, what type of polymers we're going to use, what type of steels we're going to use. We have CNC machines, again, trying to stay flexible. We have automated machines for the higher volume stuff to make sure the price point's in line, where we can make thousands of parts an hour. We have milling machines. You know, vertical integration's a big thing for us. We try to do as much in-house as possible. We make all of our own injection molds. We make all of our own forming dies, stamping dies. Quick turnaround is a big thing for us. You know, when we have an idea or we have something that we know works, we want to be quick to take it to market. You know, we're one of the only companies in the industry, gasket-wise, that really does all of our own in-house development work. We have a great staff here, a lot of people that are very knowledgeable, not only about gaskets, but internal combustion engines. We have guys that have raced their whole lives. We have enthusiasts, you know, really a great staff of people here kind of putting everything together, and that's, you know, that's the most important part.
Hey guys, this is Mike Sauer from Cometic Gasket. I'm the guy that you see at the GNCC. When you guys see us at the races, make sure you stop by the Cometic booth in Sprinter. We are now accepting applications for the upcoming riding season for rider support. Thanks.
There you go. Cometic Gaskets is a great company in this with this as well, and we've got basically a lot of great things going on here in the state of Ohio. We've got some of the world's greatest off-road racers here from here, like Corey Butterkick. We've been talking about all day. Caleb Russell, Charlie Mullins. Those are just three. Walker Fowler.
Johnny Gallagher.
Johnny Gallagher. Freddie Andrews. I mean, a relative who's who is off-road names here, and great companies like Cometic Gaskets, Wiseco, and FPS now here in the great state of Ohio as well. I mean, that's just a mecca of off-road motorcycles is right here. I mean, lot of big things come out of the great state of Ohio, no doubt about it. And this Powerline Park, GNCC being one of them, as we're 2 hours, 43.5 minutes into this. Josh Strang still leading, Grant Baylor in second, Jordan Ashburn in third. Fourth place, still Chris Bach, I believe, with Corey Buttrick in fifth. And Ryan Sipes back there in the number 6 spot, trying to make up for an early problem with the rear wheel and having to basically ride in and change that rear wheel and head on back out and try to make up for lost time. And done a great job at it so far today, but sometimes just a little farther behind the 8 ball than they need to be.
And there is Josh Strang as he jumps the mud hole. We can see the fans have pretty well abandoned their perches down there, but the racing action still heating up. Strang now down into the final mile. 1 mile to go until he crosses the finish line, revs out that Husqvarna FC 450, and potentially puts another win here in the books, just like he did a month ago at Unadilla. So looking like he's on his way to possibly his second win of 2015. And again, we've talked about these guys that fight so hard to get back to the top. Josh Strang, a champion in 2010, coming back, having a really rough year. Maybe it was 2011 he won the championship, but having a really rough year the following year. Actually didn't even get to campaign the GNCC series. Lived out west at the time, stayed out there, ran some works races. Never really came to terms with the team he was riding for, and then fought and battled from a grassroots program he put together himself to get back on a factory effort this year with Husqvarna, last year even with the Ampro Yamaha team, getting some wins and working his way to where he is today, working on win number 2 of 2015. And here comes Grant Baylor, again, that Ampro Yamaha. We see he doesn't have goggles on, so somewhere along the way it looks like Grant Baylor made the decision to ditch those goggles and maybe get a little more air, get himself cooled down. Even though it's a cool day, these guys are working real hard and they're sweating out there.
They most certainly are. A lot of effort being put forth out there on the racetrack today, and I know you spent some time out there. You just finally put a coat on after all day today, running around this racetrack.
When you run about 20 miles during the 10 a.m. race, you're not so cold. Looks like Jordan Ashburn actually has closed down the gap on Grant Baylor a little bit, but I do think he's going to run out of time. But nonetheless, a great ride for Jordan. If he can close this out with the podium position today, and that'll be the second race in a row that we've seen 2 Ampro Yamahas on the podium. We saw it last week or 2 weeks ago at Somerset. So Randy Hawkins and the crew over there doing a great job. A lot of people asking the questions with Paul Whibley retiring at the end of last year, who was going to take a leadership role over there at Ampro as a rider. Jordan Ashburn, obviously young, but has had a great career, finishing 3rd in the series last year, came out, has been strong and solid all season. And Grant Baylor, obviously, with this ride today, we do need to mention he's going to be taking over that number 2 spot in the points, which he's held virtually all season since after the first few races until Thad Duvall was able to wrestle it away from him at that last race. So it's going to be a good points day for Baylor. Now we see Chris Bach working his way through. He's looking like he's going to finish up in the 4th place spot today. It's been a long road to hoe for Chris all day. He's gone through some struggles. Was actually up and down quite a bit, and
yeah, and that's one thing to point out about Chris Bach. I don't know if people realize it. Even though he hasn't been posting a whole, well, he's got 1 win this season. There's Strang coming in for the final moments, but wow. But what I was saying about Chris Bach, of course, is, he's got a lot of wins, I think personal wins against some of the odds that he's been working against. But, man, he's come long strides. And long strides, like we mentioned, for this guy right here, Josh Strang from, full circle, if you will, from factory to privateer, back to factory, and underneath the big rig of the Husqvarna, and right back to the finish line for the checker flag and the ITP Powerline Park win for 2 years in a row. Josh Strang is the champion here in Ohio, as he does it quite convincingly here. And we wait now for the rounding out of our podium, where the rookie of Grant Baylor will be making his way in for second. That will also bring him back into 2nd place points position in the championship this year. And Jordan Ashburn, another podium position finish, as he'll round the podium out, and that is certainly going to help him in his points race as well. I know he's been battling and struggling and fighting for a top 5 overall these last rounds, as the competition has really come on strong here in 2015, just to be a top 5 number holder. And to be able to do that, and this right here will put him 1 step closer to possibly being able to do that. and maybe even inch a little closer to being the number 3 ride, at least again after 2015. We've got one more race after this one to find out whether or not he can make that happen, but right now he rounds the corners here. That's, well, actually that is Grant Baylor making his way in for that second place position now, and then another step closer for him to be, that's a rather historical thing that he'd be able to achieve with a second place overall for the year. But as we were talking about the young Jordan Ashburn making his way in as well to be able to capture a top 5 in points or maybe even move up to 3rd place. Here he comes making his way in, Johnny Gallagher. Another phenomenal ride coming at the time of the season of the championship it is needed most.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Jordan, to be able to do back-to-back podiums like he has, definitely a good ride for him this weekend. Not exactly sure what that's going to do for the points. We do know for sure that's going to put Grant Baylor up in a 2nd place in the points. I believe Ashburn was 7th coming in, and he was 14 points behind Ryan Sipes, who was 6th. Josh Strang was 5th, and Strang was, looks like 7 points behind Bach. So it looks like Strang is going to take over the 4th place spot away from Bach. Duvall's going to drop back to 3rd. Baylor will be 2nd, so that'll put Bach to 5th. Sipes should still be 6th, and then Ashburn will be 7th. So those guys will still pretty much stay the same with the exception of the shifting of Strang and Bach and also Duvall and Baylor. So Bach now in on the JCR Honda, rounding out, in the 4th place position, and then we'll wait for the man of the day, in my opinion, Corey Buttrick.
Yep,
if he can hold off the charging Ryan Sipes, we'll have to watch and see here. So when we last saw him, it was in fact Buttrick in 4th, Buttrick in 5th, and Sipes in 6th, but Sipes was doing all he could to try and run him down. So we'll see if he's able to close that gap up or if Corey Buttrick can hold him off to the finish line.
One thing I do want to note of some information we were passing along a little earlier there today. Christy Ray Fleming Ansley, which I believe
it's Sipes.
Yep, Sipes. His mom just sent me a message and said that year that Jesse signed is not a 5-year deal. It is a 3-year deal. So we thought that was a kind of a long deal that we were getting information on. But regardless, a 3-year deal for him. And there's Sipes coming in now.
Sipes is going to take 5th, and when we look right behind him, there's Corey Buttrick. He fought hard right to the finish. Looks like he's going to end up with that 6th place spot. So what a comeback ride for Sipes to come all the way back for 5th place overall after changing a wheel.
A lot of positives today. And again, even with Corey finishing in 6th place, that is nothing to sneeze at. That is nothing to be ashamed of. He could hold his head high. He fought the fight today, and he put his hat in the ring there, and that means that he is on his way back to the glory days that we used to know Corey Buttrick from, and this is just step 1 in that process, or maybe even step 2 in that process right now, because he has been fighting and struggling to get back to where he's getting back to. So congratulations to Corey Buttrick. Again, Josh Strang, Grant Baylor, Jordan Ashburn, Chris Bach in 4th, Ryan Sipes will take 5th, Corey Buttrick will round out 6th place in the XC1 Pro class, and I believe that may be good enough for 6th place overall, depending on when Jason Thomas makes his way in.
Jason Thomas is in the finish line chicanes right now. That would be the leader of our XC1 or XC2 class, so it's going to be really close on the overall there between he and Buttrick. And again, you know, Buttrick with 6th in the class, if he ends up 6th overall, you know, he's been racing those guys in XC2 all season, and we noted at Unadilla, he beat so many riders in that XC2 class that he had previously been battling, trying to beat. So as we refresh the screen there, we see that
he got him.
Jason Thomas does get Corey Buttrick just by a few seconds there. It looks like 2 hours 51 minutes 12 for Jason Thomas, 2 hours 51 seconds 14 for Corey Buttrick. So 2 seconds Jason Thomas is able to take away that overall spot 6, which will put Buttrick in the 7th place overall position, which I'm certain is his best overall of the year.
Yes, and I think it's the first step to the great things that we expect to see out of Corey Buttrick in the future for sure. We have seen, I think, a lot of things unfold here today, Johnny, and I think that as much as we've seen a few things come to light, a lot of questions probably still left unanswered from this one as well, and we'll be able to maybe answer a few of those in a couple of weeks at Ironman. But I think a lot of the questions that may be arising today will still not be answered until sometime next season, would be my opinion. As far as top amateurs go today, we didn't really keep a close eye and a close check on that one, but we did have, it looks like a great battle out of that 250A class today, Johnny, as Vance Francis, the 330 out of Bonnyman, Kentucky. I think Vance actually got the whole shot in that 250A class. He had a 1:37 lead over second place in that class, Mason Atherton out of Clarion, Pennsylvania, and they run 17th and 18th overall. So that tells you a little bit about what this track has really done to the riders out there. It has separated a lot of fast guys out there, and that gap of 1:37 between 17th and 18th place overall, Johnny, I think is a good indication of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, those guys are they're out there battling for the win in the 250A class, but also the top amateur overall, which obviously is a coveted position to be in, and those guys have traded that. Actually, Mason Atherton got his first amateur overall 2 weekends ago at Somerset. Vance Francis has won at least one, if not two, this year. So those guys are they're battling it hard out there, and we'll wait and see when they check in just to who gets the nod.
It's going to be interesting. They're not due in. We'll to let you know for sure. Let's see. We can check and see when we expect those riders in, specifically in that 250A class, or at least your leader anyway. Not for another 9 minutes and 39 seconds, 9 minutes and 30 seconds or so before we'll know for sure who our top amateur overall will be. Again, a good indication that the talent field is deep here this week.
Yeah, one thing that we did see, Ricky Russell did check in the second place in XC2 while we were away from the screen there. So with Russell checking in second place, we'll wait and see now. The next rider in should be Austin Lee. He was 1 minute and 51 seconds behind Ricky Russell the last time we had checked on him there. Oh, look at this. This is actually a battle for the final XC2 podium spot. Austin Lee has it, and that is Jesse Grom, I believe, the American Beta rider, looking like he wants to do all he can do to try and take that spot away. We're going to find out what happens here in just a moment. Oh, he runs it in pretty deep. Oh, and Austin Lee holds him off.
I thought he went underneath him there for a minute. Well, 1, 2, 3, it's as simple as can be. Austin Lee, maybe not as simple as it looked from this standpoint for Austin, because he had his definitely had his work cut out for him. And so did these guys today. Whenever that green flag dropped on this one today, it was another unknown variable day. What was going to happen? Well, I know each and every one of them had in their heart what they were hoping was going to happen, and here we are. Top three overall. Again, in the third place position, Jordan Ashburn. Second place, Grant Baylor. And for the second year consecutive, the ITP Powerline Park GNCC champion, Josh Strang. And we head down to the podium where Megawatt Matt Watson stands by.
An unbelievable race here today. I'm sorry, Ken Hill, I'm always in your way. Unbelievable race here today. Hey, let's make some noise, Ohio. Let's hear it for Jordan Ashburn, Grant Baylor, and Josh Strang. What an unbelievable race. Wait, was that a joke? I said, let's make some noise, Ohio. Let's hear it. That's more like it. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Jordan. Man, oh man, seemed like a great race out there. A little up and down here and there on some times, but it looked like you had some good lines and you're really consistent out there today.
Yeah, no, I got a good start. I got the whole shot today, and going in about the fourth corner, is a little sharper than I expected, and stops cut in, and I was like, oh no, and I hit his back wheel and crashed, and went all the way back to the back of the pack, but just charged hard all day and just try to get back up here and catch up.
Well, I tell you what, you absolutely have to be pleased because it was a masterful ride, dude. You did an absolute great job, and I know that you have a ton of people behind you, man, that you want to thank for helping you get up here on this podium today.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I'd like to thank the Lord Jesus Christ, and I'd like to thank my mom and dad, my girlfriend, the whole M-Pro Yamaha team, Factory Connection Suspension, the Kenda Tires for good today, MSR Gear, City Boots, just everybody out there, thanks.
Congratulations, Jordan. Put your hands together, guys, for Jordan Ashburn, third place today. All right, make our way over here to Grant Baylor this week. I want to make sure that make that mistake again. So, hey, Grant, tell us about your race, man. It looked like you had some situations, a little bit of drama going on, like kind of a wild race for you.
Yeah, dead last off the start, and you know, tried to make as many passes going in the woods as I could, and you know, on the first lap or two, I made my way up to the front group, and you know, Strang had already checked out, but I hooked up with Thad Duvall and Corey Buttrick, and we rode together for a good bit, and then broke away from those guys. I think Thad had some problems or something, but you know, after that, I was trying to catch Josh, and I was getting closer and closer, and I could see him on that last lap, and ended up, making that rookie mistake again, and I hit a rock going up the creek under the water, couldn't see it, and face planted pretty hard, and had to lose my goggles and everything else, but I knew third was right behind me, so I just gave it everything and into the finish. So.
Typical Baylor style, 110%, man. You knew where you're at. You knew what time it was. You knew what you had to do, man, and you got it done.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you on a hard-fought second place. I know you have a bunch of people you want to thank, boss.
I'd like to thank the whole AmPro NFAB team and my mechanic, Corey McDonald, my mom and dad. Everybody out here cheering me on and keeping me going. And Leah Neck Braces, Bell Helmets, Gear Alloy, Pro Taper, Yamalube, FMF, CD Boots, 100% goggles, and that's about it.
Dude, I know you're bummed out, but congratulations to you, man. It was a great ride. It was an awesome ride. You finished up second place today. You should absolutely be stoked.
Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, let's hear it one more time. Absolutely, man. A great ride by Grant Baylor today. Now, over here in the middle, hey, how about that, dude? Is that the coolest thing ever? Or what? A clutch basket, some spoke nipples. I mean, you got to admit, man, these guys give out some cool trophies.
Yeah, it's cool. I saw this on the web earlier in the week, and it'll be cool to go up in the trophy room.
Hey, you and I just talked a minute ago off the podium. All clicked today, man. No issues. Put on a masterful ride, and it looked like a really good race management there. You were under control at all times.
Yeah, it was good. I got off to a good start. The last couple of races, some of the boys have been pretty aggressive off the start, and they get to the front quick, which is good. And last week, I think they scared me a little, and I think they may have tried to do it again. I just stayed up there, and Sipes missed the hill climb 2 laps in a row, and that's where I passed him on the second lap. And after that, I tried to put my head down and get a gap, and it worked. So it was a good day. Cold weather. The Ohio fans are awesome, sticking out here. Makes me feel like I'm home. I get a lot of cheers when I'm at this place. So I know it was a good day.
Right on. So the Powerline definitely good to you, huh?
Yeah, it's really good. Two wins, one last year, one this year, and it's a good place to come. So I wish I would have got more this year. Looking forward to next race. I haven't won an Ironman, so this is a good starting point.
No question. You have to absolutely please moving into 2016. Just a couple great rides here, closing out this season. Like you said, we're moving to Ironman in a couple weeks. But right now, I know that you have a ton of people that help you get this bike up here, man, and you're thankful to all of them. Who are they, bud?
Yeah, the Rockstar Energy Factory Husqvarna Racing. The bike worked unbelievable today. So maybe the best all year. Dunlop tyres, we made a few changes just before the race, and I think we went in the right direction. So those guys always help me out. My mechanic, Michael, Timmy, Joey, Blue, my girlfriend Cameron, just everyone that helps out during the week. Trek Bikes, Moose Racing, CD, X-Brand, 6D, and then just again all the fans coming out, sticking out in this cold weather. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on a great win today, man. We're going to hand you the bubbly. We're going to let you guys do the champagne spray right now on this hard-earned victory day. One more time, you guys, make some noise. Jordan Ashburn, Grant Baylor, and today's big winner, Josh Strang in our XD1 class. Make some noise. Hey, while we've got him up here, Jordan, we've got a whole shot award for you as soon as you pop your champagne there.
down on the podium right now as podium celebrations continue here at Powerline Park, GNCC. Champagne has flown. Champion have been crowned. And we award our AMSOIL Twitter contest winner. It is Jeff at CDA, or I guess that'd be C. Dale Jeff. And he predicted Strang, Duval, and Sipes. Well, he got the Strang part right, and none of that even matters. He hashtagged GNCC Live. That was the important thing, and he got his name drawn. So congratulations to you, Jeff. You got yourself $250 in sweet AMSOIL product. As we head back down to the podium, looks like Megawatt is standing by with the Whole Shot Award winner there, Mr. Jordan Ashburn, and I know that that's always a great honor for these guys to be able to pick up the extra bucks like that.
Hey, Jordan, not only did you get a third place overall today, but you had the whole shot, so you're going to pick up an extra $250 from, I believe, All Balls and courtesy of the GNCC Racing Series. So this week, you got that start. You put yourself in a good position, you know, a little race management and this and that, and we come out with a podium. So always good to get that whole shot. Makes it a lot easier, huh?
Oh, yeah, definitely, but it don't help when you just throw it away in the next corner. But I guess it kind of goes with it. We try not to do that next race. So.
Hey, but the check will cash whether you threw it away or not.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to you, man. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Well, we're going to reset the podium. Big smiles by a clean-shaven Jordan Ashburn here as we approach the conclusion of 2015. And we'll be back with XC2 Pro Lights podium presentation as well as our top amateur when we return to Powerline Park.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pulls per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
This RacerTV live broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. By Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. By Maxxis Tires, find your flow. And powered by Yamaha Generators.
And welcome back to Powerline Park as we head down to the podium in Maxxis Victory Lane for our XC2 Pro Lights presentations.
Hey, thanks a lot, Rod. And we got an exciting one down here today. Ken, do you have your pictures? Do you have your pictures? No? You guys all want to get in the middle here? Get right in the front of the podium, get Ken taken care of. Jason on the ball right there. Jason said, we haven't done it yet. Look at this stuff. There's a great picture right there. Make some noise, you guys, for our top 3 XC2, Austin Lee, Ricky Russell, and our winner today, Jason Thomas. Hey, Austin, I tell you, man, you've got to be pumped. Up here on the podium today, an extremely, extremely fast group of guys on a fast track today, and third place over or in the XC2 for you today.
Yeah, it was a good day. We started up front, was 4th, and then I think Davis had some bike trouble, and so I passed him on side of the track and just stayed 3rd all day. Had a solid day, didn't make too many mistakes, and couldn't reel Ricky back in or Jason. You know, these guys was rolling, but you know, I was happy to stay 3rd and get this first podium out of the way.
No question, man. Congratulations on that for sure. And I know you had a lot of people that made that possible, man. Who you want to thank today?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'd like to thank the man above for looking over me and keeping me safe. My mom, my dad, every single one of you guys that help out in the pits and everything. Thanks a lot. I couldn't do it without Dad working on the bike each and every day. You know, my Jason Raines for giving me the opportunity to ride for him this year, and Atlas Cycles, GYTR, Stickman Graphics, Kenda Tires, FMF, Off-Road Biking, Twin Air, Unibiker, DP, Garnet, Fly, IMS, FMF, Sky Goggles, just everybody that helps out. Andy Kuntz, Robert and Scarlett Williams. There's a bunch of them that help out a lot. Thanks.
Austin, it's a big day for you, man. Congratulations on this third place. Put your hands together for the first podium for Austin Lee. Go home and savor this one this evening, man. That's for sure. Today's a big day for Austin Lee. Definitely. Hey, make our way over here to second place. Ricky Russell, man. Ricky, tough day in the trenches out there, man?
Yeah, for sure. I felt good and got off to a decent start. Me and Austin were third and fourth, I think, and going good. And Nick and Jason got away a little bit, but I was able to put the hammer down about halfway through and catch up, and actually got to the lead for a little while. And I felt like pretty much I kind of felt like I had it, not trying to sound show off or anything, but I seriously felt good on the bike and just felt like I could run a faster pace than everyone. And Lapper just pulled out in front of me and took me out. I went over the bars and somersaulted and knocked the wind out of me, and got up, and actually Jason Thomas was crashed right next to me. I guess he crashed himself. I don't know what happened. And he got up, asked if I was okay. I said yeah. He asked if he was okay, and then started going and started feeling my hand start crunching, and I knew something was wrong, and kind of was struggling to hold on for the last 2 laps, but was able to hold on to second.
Great job, no doubt about it. When we heard on the radio, both you guys were on the ground. The first thing that comes through our mind was you guys got together, no doubt about it. But obviously not the case. Able to put it together, hold on for that second place today. And who you want to thank, man, for helping you get up here?
I just got to thank my whole team for sticking behind me. Off-road biking, Marines Riding University, Atlas, Yamaha, Ampro, Flex Bars, Stickman Graphics, DP Brakes, Factory Connection Suspension, Blue Crew, Kenda Tires, FMF, Unibiker, what else? Ankle Savers, and Lucas and Ryan for helping me pit. That was a huge help, and family and friends, and everyone out there cheering us on. You guys are awesome.
Right on. Great job today. Ricky Russell, you guys, second place today in our XC2 Pro. Jason, over here in the middle one more time. What's this, like 22 of these this year or something? How many do you win this one?
I don't know. I think it's 8.
It is 8, but you know what? I want to tell you something. You've done the work. You've put in the time. Let me tell you something. Your race management, unbelievable. And I tell you, you took that plate last week, so you come back. You weren't going to be satisfied to cruise around after a championship, man. You had to make a statement.
No, yeah, for sure. You know, if you're going to win a championship, you might as well go out with 2 wins. And this is a step in the right direction. You know, Nick beat me at the last round when I won the championship, and I kind of let him go. And today we got together, and I mean, we've got together every week, and I think he had another mechanical, which yeah, it sucks for him, you know. And then Ricky called up to me there, and I let him go by, and it wasn't a mile later, he crashed, and I actually crashed on the exact same piece of track. I was right behind him, and I was in a tree, and he was on the floor, and I said, come on, let's go, man. And I got going, and he never caught me again, so I guess he's hurt his hand pretty bad, and it sucks for him. But yeah, it was nice to get a win.
I know one thing, it's just been a pleasure to watch these races this year. I know that you have an excellent team behind you. There's a lot of key players to this program, no doubt about it. You don't have a season like this on your own, and you've been quick to acknowledge that. And who do you want to thank, man, for help putting together a dream season?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people to thank for it. You know, it's more so people than it is companies, honestly. It's, you know, Josh Strang and Kiwi, you know, they've been out there every morning with me pedaling and training. My trainer, Joel Youngkins, was here today. Thanks to him for coming out. Shane Watts and his wife, Kerry, for putting it all together and for putting up with me. You know, it's been tough this season, especially at the beginning of the season. My dad for coming over and supporting me, you know, and, you know, really supporting me my whole career. And you know, he's the reason I ended up in America. So thanks to him. It's nice to have him here and witness a win and a championship. So thanks to him. And then all the sponsors, Dirtwise Riding Schools, Maxxis Tires, Climb Technical Riding Gear, Liat Braces, SRT, and all the other great sponsors, and all the guys down at the mud hole, Stephanie and Eric. You know, Stephanie's really helped me out this year with a lot of other stuff, and like you said, it's taken a whole team of people to make it happen. It's not just about being here on a Sunday. It's taken
weeks and weeks and hours. So thanks to everyone for cheering me. Thank you.
Jason, congratulations one more time. Step up there to give these guys the champagne spray. And let's hear it one more time, you guys. Make some noise for our XC2 pros. Austin Lee with his first podium. Our man Ricky Russell over here. And JT in, oh, tricky JT. Hey, congratulations to you, Dad. I know that you spend a lot of time and a lot of effort, and the guidance paid off for you.
Oh, it's great to be here and to be with all the fans today and to watch this, and I'm delighted for him. I'm very, very proud of him, and I love coming over here to the GNCCs. It's really, in my opinion, it's the World Series of cross-country racing, and it's fantastic for him to have had this success, and thank you to everyone for everything they've done for him, and it's great to be here.
We thank you. Class act, no doubt about it, and your decision to send him America entitled a lot of fans to witness the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I tell you what, I agree. I echoed the sentiments of Megawatt Matt Watson and his efforts to make sure that Jason made his way here and made his way in American off-road motorcycle racing, because he has certainly become a true icon in our sport. And as Jason was saying earlier today, it's been a little over 10 years since he made his way here. But look what it's yielded him. A second XC2 Pro Lights Class Championship, and still a bright future ahead as far as the off-road racing world is concerned. Congratulations also to Austin Lee and his first podium here today, the 123. Ricky Russell, another stellar ride by him. Hopefully everything's going to be all right with his hand. And I tell you, when we roll into the Ironman GNCC, it's going to be another exciting one. Get the fire extinguishers ready, because we could have a barn burner in this XC2 Pro Lights class. Same thing goes for the XC1 Pro class as well. And we got our top amateur we'll be speaking with here in just a moment. Well, after another long, hard-fought battle today, our top amateurs make their way into the top 20. It was up to 17th place overall after 6 laps of racing. And we say congratulations to Vance Francis, the number 330 from the 258 class, as we head down to the podium where Johnny Gallagher stands by with the American Cargo's $125 check ready to hand it out to our top amateur.
And today's top amateur is Vance Francis. Vance couldn't be here with us. So Vance, if you're out there, head by the registration trailer. You got $125 coming. Oh, never mind. Vance is with us. He made it down. All right. Vance, we thought we lost you, but sorry to rush you here. We obviously we've got a limited amount of time with our live coverage, but if you want to hold that up for our photographer, Ken Hill, he's going to get your picture back there. All right, Vance, you had a heck of a battle out there today with Mason Atherton, who won the amateur overall at our last race, and this is your second amateur overall this year, I believe, correct? Third. Okay, I know you won Indiana, and what was the other one you won this year? Big Buck, that's right, in South Carolina. So had a good ride today. You had a good battle going with Mason Atherton. When we last checked in, you had about a 1.5 minute lead. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how your day went today?
Got off to a good start, made my way to first on the first lap, and then come in the pit, and I could feel my back tire getting loose. I got a flat, as you can see. But I think I disintegrated my moose. But I was just riding smart after that, fishtailing everywhere. Just rode consistent, stayed up, and got here.
Well, to be able to win today on an obviously deflated rear tire, it looks like you really got your mileage out of that thing. But that kind of an effort doesn't happen alone. I'm sure you got a lot of people you want to thank for getting you up here today.
Yeah, first off, I want to thank the man above for keeping me safe, my mom and dad, my mama and papa, especially my papa. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for him. He does way more than he should. Also, Bell Helmets, Atlas Brace, Fox Racing, Real Ink Graphics, AST, Ride Center USA, Dunlop, Factory Connection, and I believe that's it.
Well, we want to congratulate you on another top overall amateur, your third of the season, another $125 coming your way from American Cargo, and I'm sure we'll see you out at Indiana to try and do it again in just 2 more weeks, right?
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
All right, back to you, Rodney.
All right, thanks a lot, Johnny G. Cool, the essence of coolness, no doubt about it. I just want to say thanks again for all your help today here with our live coverage of the ITP Powerline Park GNCC. It's going to wrap things up for this penultimate round. One more to go. It's the Ironman GNCC coming up in 2 weeks. Saturday's live broadcast coverage of ATV racing and that final championship deciding round coming up at 1 o'clock on Saturday, October 31st. Sunday, November 1st. Join us again at 1 o'clock for the final two-wheel race of the season. On behalf of Megawatt Matt Watson, my broadcast buddy here as well, Johnny Gallagher, I'm Rodney Tomlin saying so long, everybody.
It's